guys, good evening. Apparently, I hope that worked because otherwise, I don't know what to do about the dead air thing or the lag stuff. So, otherwise, I'm not sure. Hope that worked. Anyways, guys, welcome tonight. We are going to be doing Hannah Reid. Her attorney filed a motion for a new trial, and he's citing faulty jury instructions. Now, is this actually a big deal? Yeah, it is. It is. If the jury instructions are bad, there are problems. Typically, if jury instructions are not right, that is that's grounds for a new trial. Sometimes that is a grounds for reversal of a conviction, and that's it. But typically, you get a new trial if your jury instructions are correct, and there might be something here. But remember, this is Hannah Reid's attorney, so he has not inspired. He does not inspire confidence on things. So I want to say hello to everybody out there on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and also it's going to be on Rumble. The one thing I will say to everybody, I know people are always complaining they don't get notifications. For right now, at least, apparently on Twitch, the notifications always go out. So that's the good news. If you guys want to go over to Twitch, I'm on Potentially Criminal on Twitch. Apparently it works, which is the good news. So it's something to look at if you guys are interested. I think it will, I think it'll be a good stopgap for now as a way to get around things because YouTube and Twitch are not friends. Amazon and Google are not friends. So that could be helpful. Maybe we could take advantage of that. But I would recommend you guys look into that as an option because it may provide you with, it may solve the problems you're facing. Also, I wanted to mention tomorrow night at 9:30 we have the live show. It's the weekly show we have every Thursday at 9:30. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot of fun things to talk about. It's going to be a very good time, and that's at 9:30 over here on YouTube. Right after that show, we will be hanging out on Locals, and if you guys aren't aware of what Locals is, that is basically kind of like the more fun version of Patreon. Allows you to pretty much do what you want there. They don't care about your opinions, and yeah, it's a very good place to go. And if you guys want to join now, it's over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. You get 1 month free with the promo code CRIMINALS2024. It's free to join. If you wish to be a supporter, it's $3 a month. You pay for 10 months, you get 2 months free. With that $3 a month, you get access to all the live shows every Monday night, starting at 8:30. We do a live show, and a Monday where we haven't used up almost the entire 3-hour block is few and far between at this point. And then every Thursday, we do a live show after the Thursday night show. It goes pretty far, goes pretty long. Usually a fun time. So you guys have access to all that by becoming a supporter there. So give it a shot if you'd like to. I'd like to see you there. And I'm going to say on Friday night at 11 p.m., we are going to be hanging out with Jeff, Legal Vices. And we're going to be talking about, all the stuff he's involved in. Just like we talked with Danny on. What's it like running for, the DA in one of the biggest cities in America? Well, for Jeff, what's it like working and doing law stuff overseas, doing legal work overseas, doing maritime law, which it's always something interesting. They still deal with piracy in maritime law. Right now they're dealing with the Houthis launching missiles at them. What do they do with those boats? And how to salvage and all those things that you read about in the novels of old. Those things still exist. So it's a lot of fun. And also can make jokes about the Admiralty flags and things of that nature, and we'll probably do that. But also, because it's at 11 o'clock at night, we're going to be hanging out, having some drinks, and having a good time. And I don't know if you guys meet the goal, we might be able to go all night, or at least I will. If you guys can meet the goal, we'll go all night. Praise the goal. It's something we might look into there. So, it should be a fun time. Now, before we get too far, we start this. Unknown Europe for $2 says, And I quote, "Oh, I'm gonna come." Well, don't come. Don't come. Garrett Pace has been a member for 9 months. Garrett, thank you for that. I appreciate. It's nice seeing numbers like that. Heck, even member for 1 month is awesome, but seeing all those is awesome. There, it was a member for 9 months saying, "I hope you make $1 million, Sean," or Cezanne. Heartfelt. Thank you. Heartfelt $1 million. Oh, if only if only Jack Smith thing happened now. And then Jack Smith could have been yelling at Jack could have been yelling at Sidney Watson. I hope you make $1 million. Heartfelt. Fuck you. Hope you make $1 million. J Rock gifted 10 memberships. J Rock, thank you very much. Guys, whoever gets one of those, I know it's gonna be very appreciative. If you guys could tell J Rock thank you. And J Rock, thank you for your support. Garrett for $5 saying something for the emergency mustard fund. Buy yourself something spicy. Thank you, Garrett. Thanks. Wasn't my fault. I'm just saying. I thought I put it in. I did think we were out, number one. Because if I do, I put it in the Instacart. I didn't think we were out. No, I did not. I did not throw the bottle away. And then Cedar Rose has been a member for 7 months. Thank you, Cedar Rose. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, guys. So it's the 21st of March right now as we talk. It's March 21st. And God, it seems like it's so long ago. Hannah Reed got convicted. She was found guilty. I'm sorry. Had not been convicted yet. But Hannah Reed was found guilty by a jury on the 7th. It's been so long ago. It's already been 2 weeks, Chad. I mean, it feels like it was a million years ago now. Out of sight, out of mind. But Hannah Reed was found guilty of manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, for her role as the armorer on the set of Rust, the kind of crappy indie movie Alec Baldwin was doing. Yes, praise the goal. Praise the goal, Patty. Thank you. Also, I've got an email I need to send back to you. So, I hope Sean has 1 million children. Thanks. But anyways, she was convicted of manslaughter for her role in being the armor. And guys, I still think, my theory is she was playing with ammunition and making dummy rounds and, whoops, I mixed up the box and, well, one of those went through Helena Hutchins, so, ooh. She faces up to 18 months of prison if she's convicted of that. So on one hand, yes, she might be convicted and sent to prison. On the other hand, I'm not saying it's any time is trivial, but 18 months is not the worst thing in the world. There are far worse sentences. I mean, people go away for life. People get killed. They did not find her guilty they acquitted her of the tampering with evidence charge regarding asking some lady to hold the bag of what was probably cocaine but was never clearly established to be cocaine. So Hannah dodged a bullet there. She's not looking at another 18-month sentence out of this. So it's just that one count. Now, what we did learn, and if you guys have questions, we'll go along with this here. Her attorney, Jason Bowles, filed a motion. And that motion was a motion for a new trial. And the motion for a new trial was filed on the 15th. And that was a couple days ago. Why is it? It was filed on Friday. So last Friday this was filed. And I think it's interesting what it talks about. And I didn't know about this at the time, but somebody had keyed me into this. And I do think it's there's some there, but we'll see. What's the court going to do with it? I don't know. I don't know what the court's going to do. But yeah, Runkle, I think there's some issue about the case he cites. And my immediate red flag in this is what he does in the motion. That's the biggest red flag for me. Because, well, we'll just get to this. But, Runkle, I agree with you at the end of the day. Like, there's some there, but it's not the right type of thing you're looking at. And I'll explain to you guys why. And Runkle, if you want to join, I can send you a link if you're interested. But thank you for being here. So here's how it starts. So, like everything, it's got a caption. Every case has to have a caption. And this one's no different. And it's also electronically filed, so it's like, you guys have noticed there's no weird goofy stamps anymore. This is all e-filing. So that's why it all looks nice and pretty. But it was March 15th, right around noon. And it's State of New Mexico versus Hannah Gutierrez. Notice they charge her as Hannah Gutierrez, not Hannah Reed. Because Hannah was trying to, that's Hannah Reed is not her real name. Gutierrez is her real name. It's not Gutierrez Reed. It's just Gutierrez because she tries to cash in on her stepdad, and that's the other thing we found out. Del Reed is her stepdad. She's not her dad. So she basically tried to nepo baby in, and it's not even her biological dad, that's kind of interesting when you think about it. Like, how does that work? But what type of person would do that? But we learned a lot about Hannah Reed. We also learned she's the gorilla grip pussy pal. So we learned a lot about her. Not sure everything we wanted to learn. So this is a motion for an emergency motion. I mean, it's a motion, guys, but it's an emergency. Oh my God, it's an emergency, chat. By Jason Bowles and Monica Barreras, they hereby move for a new trial and release. Well, I think they should new trial and modified bond, but there are bigger problems here, chat. Okay. Trial was held in this matter February 21st to March 6th. On March 5th, the jury rendered split. Oh, it was March 5th. Sorry. Wait, I thought it was March 7th. Yeah, he messed that up. Okay, she found guilty of manslaughter. Okay, cool. And then he says New Mexico Supreme Court just issued its ruling in the state of New Mexico v. Taylor. And we have that case. That opinion is attached. It is attached, and we'll explain that's kind of my red flag here, that you do it. Bowles has more red flags than Stalin's funeral. Well, yes, he did. I mean, maybe only outshone by the Khmer Rouge. But yes, that was my first concern, because notice, guys, he says it came out the day before, and look at him now. He's out there just busting it up. But he hasn't shown us that he's good at what he does. So what happened? So he says there specifically, they reversed a child abuse conviction on a jury instruction error. I mean, that sounds kind of good so far, but we don't have a child abuse case. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. So specifically, the court criticized the use of and or in listing various acts the jury could find committed by the defendants. Once again, this was not. I mean, you have to be careful. You have to be careful when you cite things and bring up, oh my God, I found it. Because if you're really sitting there, and this is something I've learned, when you think, oh my God, you found the kill shot, you need to stop and go back through it, because generally speaking, I think Runkle would agree with me here. Or yes. Hi, Runkle.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's something I've found is when you think you found like this brutal kill shot somewhere in like what you're reading, or you find it somewhere, you have to stop and take a deep breath, and you're like, wait, that's really not what this is.
I don't think he even read the case. You know what I think happened?
Somebody sent it to him?
I think he's on an email list.
Yeah.
And, that summarizes cases.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody sent this case out and said, hey, it criticizes the use of and or. And he went,
yeah,
ooh. And I don't think he even read it. I think if I filed this, I would probably be sending the court a correction.
Yes.
Just to be like, I got excited. I sent you a thing, and then I read the case, and
Yeah.
I can't support any of the assertions I made. So
I mean, that could be it. Because I'm on those email lists. I'm sure you are too. Like, oh,
yep.
here's some cool stuff. But that's the thing. If you think you found this like smoking gun, you generally don't have it. You generally don't have that. Like, you're getting ready to throw down that trump card on the table. You're like, it generally doesn't work that way.
It's
At
only
least for
with
me.
if the other side is really screwed up or like the one in a
Yeah.
million luck.
Hmm.
But the other thing is, did he really think that the Supreme Court was going to throw out like every jury
Well,
verdict
well,
with like
and
this kind of language?
that's what we're going to talk about because you notice the big thing is this is already for an entirely different type of case. It's already
Yeah.
for um it's child abuse case, all right? Well, and that's where he should be going, "Huh, something's fishy here."
Yeah, is
Um
this really going to hold up for my
yes.
case?
Yeah, and we'll explain why. And the court also noted also how was your trip to did you go out to Vancouver yet?
I did. Yeah.
How was
It
that?
was it was good, although I came back with the coof, so
Yeah.
that part sucked.
Yeah. Sounds like you got through it though.
I'm recovering, but I'm still really tired. Like
Uh
just got the exhaustion and
yeah.
not a lot of my sense of smell back, but
Oh.
it's coming back, so we'll see.
You still got your sense of taste for your hot sauce though.
Yep, hot sauce is still my friend.
Good. That's say otherwise you'd have to keep going hotter and hotter and hotter and like
Eventually it'd just be like, are you just drinking fire?
yes. But he is right though. If there are times where jury instructions are bad, and if the jury does get confused or they end up with like a non-unanimous verdict, and they kind of some of them pick part A and some of them pick part B, yeah, that would come back. But this is precisely the argument that Miss Gutierrez Reed made in jury instruction arguments before the court. And that's where I get worried because you didn't make very good arguments before the court.
Well, and the other thing is
Yeah.
he tries to spin this like the case says one thing and it's very different from what it actually
Yes.
says.
Yes. And
Like
this is stuff like
if it said what he thinks it says, it
Yeah.
would be a great case.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. And the thing is, he's kind of doing this like when you first get to law school, you're like, oh my god, this is perfect. And you're like, wait, it's not.
Yeah.
Or this is what jailhouse lawyers do. They're like, oh, I found a case. I found like one sentence that agrees with me. Well, what does the sentence before that and after it say?
Oh, I got to do that to a lawyer once. It was really, really funny because they cited a sentence, and I was just like, I would also like to cite that paragraph, but here is what it says before, and here's what it says after, because it was basically talking about when a court can reject binding precedent.
Yeah.
And so it says basically almost never, and then here is one thing that might get you part way there. And then but you're going to need a lot more than that. And they just took that little, this will get you part way thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well for them.
No. And that's, but guys, I recommend that to you too, because that's what I do. When I find something, I'm like, wait. And I go back and I read that whole paragraph. And if I'm still, and then, start reading from there. Don't just, if you find a sentence, you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds really cool. Read it before it and read after it, because if that's how you know what's actually being said there.
The other one that the other one in a trial I had that was just absolute. I kind of felt bad for the other lawyer because I was a bit of a dick about it, but they cited a paragraph that was absolutely fatal to me, and they just handed me this case in court, and I'd never seen it before, and I was like, how the did I miss this? This absolutely ruins me. And so I'm reading over it as they're making their submissions, and I note, wait a minute, this is the dissent.
Oh.
So I got to stand up and was like, this paragraph is in fact absolutely destructive and represents the complete end of my case. Unfortunately for my friend, it's in the dissent, and the majority went the other way. And I just watched their face go as they realized their own screw up. You don't want to be that lawyer.
Yeah, you just really have to be. You've really got to be on. You can't get rattled. That's why like you said, you got to read it and then figure out what's going on, and from there you can figure things out. But it's a lot of reading. So people joke, but it's a lot of reading.
But do you get the impression that Carrie Morrissey is gonna like half-ass reading the case law on this one?
I mean, yeah, but I think she's actually when Bowles is gonna be like, "Look, I found this," and you're like, "Oh shit," just like you did. She's gonna read through it like line by line.
Oh yeah, she does not. She doesn't strike me as the like I half-assed this kind of.
No, she's gonna cite La Malvi bruh as a as a comeback. And then she is further requesting the court to release her pending further proceedings, whether it be on an appeal or writ. Yeah, but you're not gonna get telling. She's not gonna change any of that till you get to sentencing anyway. And then Exhibit B is the jury instructions attached.
At least not on the arguments he makes.
Yeah.
It's possible that the judge could have been like, you know what, I will allow for release on the basis of you have an argument. I'd want a better argument than this one, but
yes.
He doesn't even try.
Well. Oh, and I'll show you guys, and just so you're watching chat, I'll show you next where the red flag is. But he does say that jury instructions are, he says this is virtually certain.
It's never virtually certain on appeal. Come on.
Yeah, nothing is virtually certain. If it was virtually certain, yeah, like the appeals court could say they could come up with a million different reasons why it's not virtually certain, or it's clearly obvious.
Unless the Supreme Court said, and on our off time, we've been watching the case of Hannah Gutierrez Reed, and this is directly applicable, and she should be immediately released. Unless they did that, which will never happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I do think it's fair for him to make the arguments that, you know what, Hannah has no criminal history and has never violated pretrial release, and she's not a flight risk.
And those are all excellent arguments. He should have really come to make those, when Morrissey was asking for detention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, he's just he was literally on his phone looking up the test.
I think he was, and that's where I think, from what I understand, he does a lot of civil work.
Yeah,
that's his bread and butter.
But you're waiting a verdict.
Go to court. Yeah,
you've got to be ready for your you've got to be ready to speak to sentencing and speak to these kinds of issues.
Yeah,
not being ready is that's ineptitude.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's these are the arguments you make when your guy gets arraigned. They're all the same arguments. You always make them. He's a member of the community. He has family. He's got a job. He's got this. He's got that and the other. And for Hannah Reed, she's piss poor. I've made that argument before. Your Honor, she's too poor to flee. She doesn't have any money to go anywhere.
She's got no money. She's not getting on a plane. But if you think she will, we'll give you her passport. Yeah. She's not even going to leave the city. Yeah. She's going to stay.
Her name's Gutierrez. She can't even speak Spanish. She's not getting to the border. People are they're gonna recognize her down there.
Well, and that's the thing this is a case with national interest. Literally, she is recognizable anywhere she goes. Yeah. She's not running, what is she gonna do? Start up a film production that, in order to kill again? How is that gonna? Yeah. I think if he'd made the case, they could have won it. So.
Oh, I think so too. But that Bowles is not. Yeah, Bowles could turn your freaking like jaywalking ticket into a life sentence probably. So
It's like,
so
30-year sentence for jaywalking. Good work,
mm-hmm,
Bulls.
yep. So that's been submitted by him and Monica Barreras. I feel bad for her. She signed on this. I don't think she read it. I hope to God she's just like signed on like by telephone authorization. Like, yeah, Jason, just put me down, whatever, file it. And like she didn't say, yeah, this is a good idea. So we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say.
And guys, this right here is the red flag. It's not labeled as an exhibit, number one. But when you just literally Xerox in a court opinion into your case, like into your motion, that's not confidence inspiring to me. Like you this right here, you don't like I don't think you should ever do this.
Did you want to maybe like quote parts of it
Yes.
rather than just like,
Mhm.
you know,
Exactly. And also this right here, just this is not, I have a PDF splitting and merging program I use. Because
yeah.
doing this, I think just looks kind of tacky because you know what I found? I found the PDF of the actual opinion. And like this number one looks far clearer and doesn't make you look like a complete crazy person. But in general, guys, don't ever do this. You see somebody doing this, that should give you a hint. It's probably garbage what they're arguing.
Like
It
just
yeah.
there's so much just late. Like I'm wondering if he just saw this on an email chain, got so excited,
Yeah.
and was like, "Yes, this has got to get sent out
Yeah.
right today."
Yeah.
And God, I hope he didn't do the really stupid thing
Mm-hmm.
of calling up Hannah and being like, "You're getting out."
Yeah. Yeah. I hope not.
Because if he, I mean,
yeah.
but actually, it
He
might
could
have
have
been
done
the
it.
biggest favor he could do her. Now that I think about it, because that might be the thing that gets her to fire him.
Oh, yeah. Gets her to call a bullion back like, "Hey, buddy. Hey, friend.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Miss you.
Yeah, long time no see. So yeah, I guess you were right ultimately. And I'm sure as soon as he picks up the code, you have a call from the Santa Fe jail from Hannah Click.
Yeah. You know what? If I was him, I'd take it just because, like, come on, it's gonna be funny either way.
Well, I would take it just because I despite despite how I act here on here, chat. If somebody called me from the jail and it was a former client, I'd still take the call at least to say, okay, well, what do you want me to do, and then go from there and say, well, you're gonna have to get me money, and then just leave them at that and leave it there. But yes, they go on. So Justice Vigil, this calls on us once again to consider the propriety of jury instructions in a reckless child abuse case. It's already a red flag. That's already a problem. A reoccurring theme in our jurisprudence, meaning this is a thing they've dealt with. And they've talked about this. Apparently, it's an issue with the jury instructions involving child abuse, that they've had a lot of problems. Okay, well, we're not in a child abuse case.
And if they had similar problems with the involuntary manslaughter, you'd hope Bowles would have found that jurisprudence before now.
Yes. And if this had talked about manslaughter, you know what I'd say? I'd probably give you I'd probably let it slide. Like, okay, you got a little hasty, but you know what? At least you're on the right street. He's not even in the right town right now. He's in Child Abuseville, and he needs to be in Manslaughterton. So he's not even in the right place, guys. They talk about the court addressing these problems by substantially revising the reckless child abuse jury instructions. Okay. I mean, I will say, though, they must have a lot of problems. They have to keep coming back to this. That's actually not a good sign. But every state's got a weird issue like that where they screw up something and they keep coming back to it. Every state has an issue.
Keep screwing it up.
Yeah, well, every state's got, we keep screwing up one type of offense, and every state's different. It's weird. So there was also an issue. There was a joint trial, and I think that was probably an issue with the mom and the dad. Looks like had a trial together.
I think it was mom and daughter.
Or mom and daughter, but yes, it was a joint trial. That's always an issue. And there's confusion and misdirection due to the unfortunate use of an appropriate conjunctive term in the complex. The essential elements that set out the course of conduct the jury is required to find in order to return guilty verdicts. The confusion and misdirection stems from the use of a single and or connector to separate and join no fewer than 4 distinct propositions for the jury's consideration.
How many did they have in this case?
Yes, and guys, what they're saying there is in the jury instructions, you could find and or one of 4 options. So juror 1 could pick option A, juror 2 could pick option B, juror 3 could pick option C, and then jurors 4 through 12 could pick option D. And that's a non-unanimous verdict because they all agreed on a different theory.
Except that's not even the problem here, because they've got case law that they don't reject that says that that's actually just fine.
Yes, but that can, well, depending on your state, that is an issue there. And that's what they're arguing is, though, that there's 4 distinct propositions. And they're saying and or has proved singularly unsuited to formulating clear and effective jury instructions. Okay. To the degree our trial courts be well served to avoid its use in jury instructions altogether. I think that's where Bull stopped reading.
Yeah.
I'm sure he got this far. He's like, oh, we can't use it anymore. The underlying jury instructions use, or more accurate, misuse of the and or connector requires this court to reverse defendant's reckless child abuse convictions. And notice the underlying jury instructions. So these specific ones were bad. Not yours, Hannah. Or I should say Jason. Not the ones you had. This is talking about the underlying jury instructions. It's not saying all jury instructions. And that's where he quit reading. I think he stopped right here. I think that's where he stopped.
Yep.
The rest of this is saying, well, you got to be careful. So this is the other thing, though. This is the court saying we're not going to read the rest. We're not going to make a ruling on the rest of this because you're getting a new trial, so your errors don't matter anymore. So there's no issue of double well, I think it's interesting. There was a double jeopardy claim. I think that would have been an interesting thing to see what they're arguing about. There's a merger claim and evidentiary arguments. But you know what? You're getting a new trial. It does not matter. So you get to go back. And that's, in courts like doing that because the rest of it becomes advisory at that point. But also, we've done our job. Like true government servants. Good enough. So they talk about the facts here, and yes, it was a mother-daughter operating a daycare. They used SUVs to drive the 12 kids. I'm assuming they're using like something like Ford Escapes or little SUVs, because I don't think they're driving like big like Suburbans or Yukon, something huge that can fit 12 kids properly. But these 2 kids are riding in car seats and driving from the playground in separate vehicles. They all returned to the daycare when the outdoor temperature was 91 degrees. Upon arrival, 4 of the kids, you guys see where this is going. Yeah, this is not a good fact set up here. All the kids get out of the car, except without noticing the victims were still seated in Sandy's vehicle. And, so for reasons unknown for the whereabouts, they didn't check for 2.5 hours until they found the kids in the car. So, yeah. One of them died and one of them suffered severe neurological injuries. So, gotta check that. Gotta check those car seats, guys. Gotta check those car seats. So, so they did point out, like, they didn't intend to leave the kids in the vehicle. And I think that's probably, very, very magnanimous of the state not to charge them with murder. But, who knows?
We're like, we'll acknowledge it wasn't intentional.
Yes. But they get through all of it. She gave an interview to the police, which don't do that.
That's always a good idea.
Yes. She acknowledged that both she and her daughter forgot the victims, and the defendants did not follow their usual practice to do a head count of the children at any time after returning to the daycare. Well, that's why you have rules. Rules and structures protect you. Stick to your TTPs, guys. Stick to your TTPs. They will save you. So they each got convicted of reckless child abuse resulting in the death and reckless child abuse resulting in great bodily harm. They were sentenced to 18 years for each count, totaling 36 years each. So this is good for them. They're going to get another shot. I don't know if this is going to change too much, though. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see, though.
I don't think it's going to change anything for them, but I'm sure they're happy to get it.
Yeah, and the guys, here we go. The jury instruction issue. So there was reversible error, and they argue the listing of the essential conduct with an and or conjunction because it's, hooking up your words and making them function. Like, God, I fucked that up. You guys don't have Schoolhouse Rock in Canada, do you?
No.
Okay, never mind. I'm sure I'm getting booed in chat. So there was a Schoolhouse Rock, like the little cartoons. It was like conjunction, junction. What's your function? It's like hooking up words and phrases and making them function. So it's like little train cars, and the ands were like little connectors.
That's the worst.
That was really good, though. Of all the Schoolhouse Rocks, that was actually like the one that was, I think, not a lie. Because I'm just a bill. I'm just a bill, and learning about American government was certainly a lie. So they provided for alternate ways for the jury to find the defense committed child abuse without requiring the jury to unanimously agree on any of the alternatives. Applying a de novo standard review, they agree. Okay, so we're not worried about the jury instructions. It is a mixed question of law and fact, which, because you're giving the jury instructions on how to apply the law to the facts, or the facts to the law, which way you want to.
But note, it's actually not a huge problem that they didn't get. The problem isn't that they didn't have to agree at the end of the day. It's that they could, because of the way the instructions were phrased, they could convict on a basis that was not a lawful way to convict.
Yes.
Because of the and or.
Mm-hmm. So that's why it becomes a mixed issue, guys, because you're instructed on the law because they give you the law, and then they say apply the facts to the law or apply the law to the facts. Which, if you want to actionally, I think you could technically say it's both ways. So they preserved the instructional issues now raised. And Bowles did. He raised that issue for appeal. He raised the issue on the record. So you have to consider the instructions as a whole and not singly to see whether a reasonable juror would have been confused or misdirected by the instructions. So that's the thing. You're not just objecting to that one line. It's the entirety of it, because the jurors looked at the entirety of the instructions. You didn't just give them one line and say, go convict. As much as
because they would.
love it. Well, yes, and prosecutors would love that. So juror confusion or misdirection may stem not only from instructions that are facially contradictory or ambiguous, but from instructions which, though through omission or misstatement, fail to provide the juror with an accurate rendition of the relevant law. And that's a very... That one doesn't always happen, though. Like, failing to give them a complete screwing up of the law, because usually somebody's going to catch that. It comes down to these, like, ands and ors, or, was it... Section A is actually more appropriate than Section B. Those are the completely, like, inaccurate recitation of a law. Generally doesn't happen. It's stuff like this is typically where you get, at least around here. I don't know about in Canada, where I'm sure they say jury. Well, you guys don't have too many juries, though, do you?
A lot less.
So the indictments are identical, okay, and the indictments are fine. So the defendants requested the jury, so they let the child unattended in a heated vehicle, which caused the heat death. Okay. Count 2 says they left the child unattended in a heated vehicle, which caused great bodily harm. Right. At trial, the parties disagreed how to describe the conduct required for the jury to find them guilty of the reckless child abuse. The defendants wanted the jury to be required to find the defendants let the victims unattended in a vehicle exposed to unsafe temperatures for a time period exceeding 2 hours. The state requested the instruction adopted by the trial court identified 4 different acts. The district court instructed the jury to find the defendants guilty of reckless child abuse. It had to find that the defendants did not follow the proper rules and procedures mandated by Children, Youth, Family Department, or I don't know, in conducting the care of the victims, including failing to do head counts, driving the victims without CYFD permission, failing to do a proper child care to giver child ratio when the victims were in their care, and then here and or failing to remove the victims from a vehicle which resulted in the victims being left unattended in that vehicle and exposed to unsafe temperatures for a time period of approximately 2 hours and 40 minutes. So there's the and or. And that appears to be the and or they're focusing on. And then they say, as we explain next, the presence of and or in the all important conduct element of the essential elements confused and misdirected the jury and allowed to make a finding of guilt on a legally inadequate basis. And there's and footnote. Remember, footnotes, guys, are your friends. Footnotes are nice and clean.
We like footnotes.
They are. Well,
except in this case, they just go on a big wild goose chase about including.
Yes, but I was a history major in school, so like footnotes are like the way the APA, the MLA, and legal professions do this. I hate this. It drives me crazy.
Oh, what I hate is endnotes. Endnotes are the worst.
Oh yeah, well, and yeah, I think that's rough too because you're flipping back and forth. So this is in the court. They bring up that we note the potential problems inherent with the use of the word "including" in these jury instructions. This is interesting because normally they're not going to go on a tangent of, oh, we found another problem. They usually stick with the problem you've raised. For them to bring up other problems is generally not something they do.
It's like we're going for all the problems today.
Well, but I think that but they keep mentioning they have problems with this type of case. So maybe they're like, I guess we'll
Please
spell
fix
it out
everything,
for you guys.
guys.
Yeah. The word "including," usually a term of enlargement and not of limitation, that connotes an illustrative application. They can allow a jury to roam freely through the evidence and choose any facts which suit its fancy or its perception of logic to impose liability. God, I forgot this earlier. I need to I see so many footnotes and quotes in these cases when I do them, and I'm just like, I love that because I'm gonna have to keep that in my back pocket. The roaming freely through. Without addressing this unraised issue head on, we simply acknowledge there are additional concerns presented by the use of the word "including" alongside the already ambiguous term "and or" in the conduct element of the jury instructions in this case. So I think this is also a hint that if you read this in the future and the "including's" in there, you bring it up, they will address it, and they'll say there's a problem. So, more than 75 years ago, this court criticized the use of "and or" in the context of jury instructions. It's a highly objectionable phrase and has no place in pleadings, findings of fact, or conclusions of law, judgments, or decrees, and least of all in jury instructions. Now, this is something Bowles could have cited, but he would have made an argument and just cited that paragraph in State v. Smith.
And then Morrissey will
Yeah.
will come after him if he does that. I mean, she's going to come after him in any event.
Well, I understand, but that's where you would use this and say, okay, well, he would have to do a lot more work. He'd actually have to put together a motion, but that's the part you would use out of this if you thought you had something. Because the rest of it up top doesn't really work, but this is a, block quote that, they're talking about the use of "and or," and it's going to be really hard to say the Supreme Court quoted it out of context because it's your state Supreme Court. But they're just pointing out that, for a long time they said "and or" sucks. Okay. And that the misuse of "and or" in jury instructions that defined essential elements is in the second-degree murder. And they quoted approvingly by Brian A. Gardner. And Brian A. Gardner is a law professor. I think it's still at the University of Tejas, but he wrote. In America, we have what's called the Blue Book. It's a legal citation guide, and it's a form and style manual. Brian Gardner is a legal writing professor, and he wrote what's called the Red Book, and it was about actual writing and the actual style and the finesse of legal writing. And he's highly, highly praised and accredited. He's kind of like one of those. He's one of those gods of the legal education sphere. So, and over the years, other courts have joined this criticism. So they say apparently in Florida, yeah, it says and or, yeah, and or conjunction between names of co-defendants and jury instructions. But see, they point out that's the issue is and or between the names of co-defendants. Well, there's no co-defendants, so that's an issue. Sorry, that out. State v. Gonzalez in New Jersey Superior Court. Appellate. I think that means their state Supreme Court. I don't know. New Jersey does weird. New Jersey and New York are weird in how they do stuff. But the repeated use of the imprecise term and or, but also look, repeated, was so confusing and misleading as to engender a great doubt whether the jury's unanimous respect to some or parts of the elements. So it wasn't repeatedly used, so I think that it's gone there. The Commonwealth v. Johnson in Massachusetts, setting aside a verdict for violating a domestic protection order. And or, but it's still where contact was not a restraint prohibited by the order. So that I'd almost argue is they're citing and or, but it was citing non-illegal conduct because they're saying contact's not a restraint prohibited by the order. Although that's weird if they had a protection order and you could contact your victim, but so yeah, this one doesn't really help Bowles either. So it doesn't
and
help.
it's going to get a lot worse for him when we get to around page 19.
Yeah, and there's other commentators. Brian Garner again, say that he's the big dog when it comes to this. The only safe rule is not to follow the and or expression in any legal writing, document, or proceeding under any circumstances. Well, there's times where I think you're writing contracts, including and like you're listing off like all the different kinds of exemptions and exemptions and what's not covered here. You might be able to get away with an and or, but I don't know. I don't like the words always or never, and that's basically what he's saying. Because that means you're going to get proven wrong at some point. But other commentators, they espouse a more measured approach, which recognizes that while the properties of and or creates neither ambiguity or confusion. Which, if I was Carrie Morrissey, guess what I'm bringing up? Because Bowles going to say, look, but the Supreme Court also says there might be times where it works.
Well, and the example is basically the current case.
Yes. And she says the term should not be used in jury instructions. Okay. But yes, and here's where she says it should not be used in jury instructions, ... in cases that involve more than one person. We don't have that because it's only Hannah Reid. Now, if Hannah Reid and Alec Baldwin were tried together, that could be an issue.
Yeah.
More than one victim. We do have more than one victim, but Joel Souza wasn't she wasn't charged with wounding him. So there's only one victim on this. It was Helena Hutchins, or element of a crime. No, it was just manslaughter. So there wasn't literally all the things they say that you don't want to have, Hannah didn't have. So Bowles didn't read this. And yes, apparently this guy wrote a whole legal... This is a legal review, guys, a law review article on the words and or. And I would rather do this. I would rather do YouTube than write legal law review articles about and or. I don't know about you, but oh my god, this is just awful. So, Carrie's saying, "Show us the mustard bottle you didn't throw away." Well, that's like a week ago now, and I'm pretty sure she 2.0 tossed it, so I can't do anything about it. Squinting Cat's been a member for 20 months. Thank you. That's pretty cool to see like a number like that. Thank you for your support. Says, congratulations to Sean and future Mrs. Martin 2.0. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Then Afix for $10 says, and/or is my favorite Star Wars planet. That was good. Oh. But as you can see, guys, it doesn't take much. You're already, like, just reading the basics of this. We're already, like, there's a lot of problems. And they say, regardless of the context or of its legal issue, the intended meaning of the term and or is rendered all the more confusing, whereas here it is used to both separate and join more than two propositions in a single statement. Okay, so using and or to separate two terms such as A or B invites the reader to choose only A, only B, or both A and B. Thus is the reader is provided with only three options when and or is used to separate two terms. As opposed to A and or B with an additional C, leaves the reader guessing whether and or is doing between all of them. So you could say A and B and or C. Well, now it's a problem because can I do A, B, and C, or is it just is it B and or C? So I have to pick B, C, or B and C, but it doesn't say A, and that's an issue. They point out like could provide a choice or any combination of or A and or B and or C. That's the issue when you have multiple problems, and in this scenario, the possible choices for the reader end up being A, B, A and B, A and C, or all three.
And in this case, it's, well, they
Yeah.
go a little further. It's only if one of those possibilities that is no gets you to something that's like an unlawful conviction,
Yes.
like a bad combination of,
Yeah.
where they'd convict on the basis, or they'd convict somebody who's legally innocent.
Yes. And they agree that the trial court should not ask a jury to unravel such a complex syntactical problem. Well, that's how you solve a Gordian. That's how you solve the Gordian knot with a sharp sword. The jury was required to parse the complexities created by the presence of these alternative propositions framed by a single and or connector in determining what, and that's the issue. Because they highlight it, and we're in this kind of situation where there's a bunch of them, but there's only one and or. So which things? And all of them, and some of them, or some of them? We don't know. And whether the course of contact engaged by the defendants in the hours leading up to the tragic incident constituted reckless child abuse. The jury was left to pick and choose between what the court presented as no fewer than 4 alternative species of conduct attributed to the defendants and to assess the nature and severity of the risk each presented, both individually and in combination with no guidance to aid its inquiry. So, when 2 or more different or inconsistent acts or courses of conduct are advanced by the state as alternative theories as to how a child's injuries occurred, then the jury must make an informed and unanimous decision guided by separate instructions as to the culpable act for that defendant in which they're being punished. And they just point out here that 4 propositions are presented, but with a single and or conjunction. In that regard, the use of and or compounds the comprehensibility problems already created by a jury instructions, stringing of multiple items or attributes in list. And yes, I agree, that is an issue. So because going back to it, which of the ands? Is it just the and or those two things next to each other? Or is it and or everything in that list? It's not clear. They talk about further the additional problems. The instructions go beyond the convoluted form of the instructions and compound juror confusion. We refer to the fact multiple propositions set out in the Did I say it in that way to make sense, Runkle?
I think so.
Because it
The
goes back
court's
to
it's going to take a while to get to the point in this decision.
yes. Oh, I know, but I'm trying to highlight it because if it's just A and or B, okay, cool. I understand my options. But then it becomes A, B, and or C. Well, now it's not clear. And then yes, and I'm trying to make it clear as we're getting through this. They refer to the fact that multiple propositions set out in the instructions involve acts or omissions that fit in the 2 separate distinct categories of conduct. The first category is the violations of the policies put into place by the New Mexico Children's Services to promote the safe operation of daycares. The second category is the exclusive focus on their ultimate conduct, leaving the kids in the heated vehicle. And that is the point. A bunch of this stuff is like they broke some rules. They didn't do a head count. Okay, is that really reckless child abuse? Okay. letting a kid die in the car, is that reckless child abuse? I do think that is weird. They have those phrases the same level of severity. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that's a little weird how they have that. When when the first time I read that, I'm like, wait, I can kill a kid, or I don't do a head count, and that's the same level of oopsie poopsie. And I don't think that's what people ever intended.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't see how like the they you know the one kid's Hydrox was chocolate and vanilla. He didn't, he had his Hydrox wrong, or he didn't have enough juice in his cup, and it's like, that's a felony, ma'am. It's like, jeez. So the record of the instruction conference reveals the references in the instructions to the alleged lapses were intended from the state's perspective to satisfy the reckless requirement of the child abuse charge by shedding light on the totality of the circumstances. That's not how that should be. I mean, that's like it. I'd make the argument when I saw this. That's almost like if Carrie tried to put in all the dumb shit Hannah did leading up to Helena being shot. As we find her guilty of leaving guns out, losing guns, playing with ammunition, of multiple negligent discharges, of a fanny pack full of ammo, and then saying, also, by the way, is she responsible for Helena being dead? And those are all like rules and policy breakings. Because they try to show it's like all the risks she disregarded. And what is? Oh, hold on here. You guys are. Hold on here. What?
Yeah, various oopsies are not all equivalent.
Okay, sorry guys. We're trying to. You guys are talking about penis land. We're not talking about penis land.
Wait, what?
No, you guys were. I wonder. Pike's saying this is. I wonder if Hannah hired Bowles. Bowles brought her in. I'm not sure how that works. Are you guys talking about here? Oh, actually, Hella's saying, are the jury issues the new cool thing to try and cause mistrials?
They're the old cool thing to try for a mistrial.
Yeah,
like,
but
these have always been issues.
Yes, they always are issues, and it's something you like. Most of the time, there's arguments over what happens in a jury instruction, and a lot of times you get overruled, and you hope that's good enough. Now, if you're saying like, would I try to is that my last chance to scuttle a case? Sometimes it's like, okay, well, hope I've lost on everything else. Maybe this will fix it. If the state's like, okay, fine, whatever, I think you're wrong. But I would intentionally just throw the case and say, oh, they're going to use a jury instruction and that'll save the day. Bulls might do that.
Well, and the other thing is,
yeah,
if you don't object to a bad jury instruction,
yeah,
the appellate court might be like, well, you agreed with it, so that's on you.
Carrie, you're saying read the super chats. I already read the super chats.
Chat's never happy.
No, I know, but read your fucking super chats. I already read them. I already read your thing a while ago. You got to écoute les enfants. See, I'm a little trilingual there.
Trilingual.
Yeah, because I know a little Espanol. I know, yes, I know la migra.
As much as your French.
Yes, just un petit peu. Hold on 1 second. Yes, read the chat, guys. I'm trying to read this thing here. So you guys are saying about Monica. So Monica Perez, the female defense attorney, has an LLC set up under her name. It's a very basic looking website. Guys, go to most attorneys' websites. They're very basic.
Oh, man.
Here I am. Here's what I do. Go to my website. It's not anything impressive. I put it together.
I emailed a senior defense lawyer the other day.
Yeah.
At their yahoo.com email address. Lawyers are not necessarily great at tech.
Yeah. Yeah. So, And apparently people are saying I missed this, but I'm pretty sure we put this up already. Yes, Afix for $10, and or is my favorite Star Wars planet. I'm gonna love going back through the replay and seeing that I already did this one, but well, it's not the first time chat's been wrong. Won't be the last time. So, um, but yeah, that the guys don't. The idea that she's, these attorneys have like, yeah, still have a Hotmail address. You know how many? I don't know about up in Canada. You know how many guys? You know how many attorneys have Gmail addresses? Most of them. I don't. I don't know about up there if that's a problem or not, but I mean, I don't like it doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with that. I know some really good attorneys have a Gmail account. So
Yeah, it's funnier when it's something like Yahoo or Hotmail or
Netscape,
something.
yeah.
But the other thing is lots of lawyers use Gmail at the back end,
Yeah.
but you can set up Gmail to have to be your domain address.
Yeah.
And maybe you should because it looks more professional.
Yeah, and honestly, guys, it's there's all those things like having a server and having your own domain and all of that. Like, yeah, I own SeanPMartinLaw.com, but what do you want me to have? Like, at some point, it's spending tons and tons of money. Patty says, "I missed your super chat. You didn't send one in, so just yeah, just double checking. It's like
I wouldn't trust him.
I know CompuServe one, yes." So they're just guys. There's just all kinds of Don't I wouldn't get worried about those things. The most attorneys were not Bruce Rivers, where we've got the nice big office where we've got all our plaques on the wall. If you know who he is? Have you ever seen his stuff before?
I've seen his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's got the nice big fancy office, got the motorcycles and the airplane. Like, no, that's not how most of us roll. I wish we did. I'm sure Uncle wishes he did.
I mean, if I don't think I'm ever likely to get a plane because if I had plane money, I'd buy other things and do more pro bono work. But
yeah,
it is most lawyers don't have, the ones who make the huge money is pretty narrow.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like playing the NFL, guys. Very few people do it. Doesn't mean we don't try, but that's just how it goes. But anyways, let's get back to actually figuring out why Jason Bowles is going to look like an idiot in front of the world. At least right now, in front of how many of us? 354. So, in contrast, the jury instructions removed the defendant's ultimate act of neglecting to remove the victims to the vehicle intended to relate the conduct or actus reus component of the child abuse charges. But the divergent purposes and relative import of these two categories of conduct were never explained to the jury. In combining these two distinct categories of elements, the court gave the jury confusing and misleading instructions that failed to provide members of the jury with a clear and correct understanding of what it is they are to decide. And that's the issue. There was the jury conflated the conduct and the attendant circumstances elements of the offense.
So theoretically, a juror can convict based on those instructions solely on they didn't have permission to drive the kids.
Yeah, well, then they could bring it up because they all this right here that what they didn't do. Okay, well, and think about it. If this was Hannah Reed, they'd be saying she didn't follow rules and procedures mandated by SAG, and including failing to account for weapons, losing weapons, having negligent discharges, allowing people to muzzle sweep each other. Insert whatever thing it was she didn't do. Ultimately,
and that didn't kill anybody.
Yes,
because there were a bunch of mistakes she made that didn't kill anybody.
Yes,
and they're relevant to show that Hannah was a complete fuck up.
Yes, but then you get to all the things she did, and or being the proximate cause for Helena Hutchins getting a hole blown in her chest.
Yeah.
And that's where they're kind of tying this together. That's not fair. This stuff shouldn't actually be there. And I think they're right. I would have had a cow too if I was the defense attorney on that one. All this stuff should not be there because that doesn't matter. Because there's a presumption they didn't follow the rules and procedures. Because there isn't a rule on leaving kids to die in a car. The rule is don't do it. There is no proper is it because the way I'd almost make the argument I'm a big enough asshole I would have said this. Your Honor, is the state arguing there's a proper way to let a kid die in a heated car? Based on this logic, the state's making that argument. It's it doesn't work that way, guys. And this isn't 100% free legal advice, guys. Don't leave your kids in the car. Don't let them die. That's not legal anywhere. Not even in probably Somalia. I don't think that's legal there either.
North Korea, you just throw some Western propaganda on the kid, and
yeah, you blame it on the imperialist.
You're just I left the kid in a hot car because he was reading, Western propaganda.
Yeah. Well, they're then going to say, well, then they put you in a labor camp.
I mean, they might approve of what you did and then double your grass ration.
Maybe. Well, you have to have a car in the first place. You leave him in the cart unattended, the ox cart. So yes, combining
You've got the one car in North Korea.
Yes. Combining independent elements of a crime in a single instruction made for awkward phraseology and unduly complicated instructions. So notice they're pointing out you could combine the conduct and the elements that have a problem, or two separate elements of a crime. And there's all kinds of problems. So it is thus clear that a reasonable juror, at least one untrained as a linguist, well, it doesn't matter because the linguist would say, I don't understand legal stuff. Would have been confused or misdirected by the instruction. And some of you guys are saying, well, how would they know? It's we don't know because we don't inquire of the jurors. We don't go open their minds. But is it a reasonable, somebody would be really confused. And if these judges have no idea, then they know nobody else is going to have an idea.
Also, keep in mind, appellate justices tend to think that the jurors are pathologically stupid.
Yes, but they also think that they think they're stupid a lot of times, but when it matters most, they generally think, oh, they figured it out. They're bright. You tell them
they think they're stupid, except they also want to make sure that convictions stand.
Yes. They think if you tell them don't feed the bears, they did not feed the bears. Even though, more than likely, they went over and opened up their lunchbox and fed the bears. Because that's what they do. This conclusion is buttressed by the empirical studies that confirm substantial conceptual challenges jurors face. It's you're all retarded little children. And properly understand the interplay between criminal intent and act requirements. It just gets you lack the conceptual abilities, guys. The essential elements instructions here only add to the confusion and misdirection instead of lessening the problems. In the final analysis, the conduct element instructions with their complex structure and prominent use of and or on their face allowed the jury to make a decision they were not allowed to make. That is to say, the jury was allowed to return guilty verdicts solely based on one or more of the alleged policy violations. And that's the problem. For our analysis, this court need not to dispositively address the legal sufficiency or efficacy of each of the several conviction choices available to the jury under the essential elements instructions. Instead, it's enough to point out the jury's instructed could have convicted the defendants on the charged felony child abuse crimes for merely failing to obtain agency permission to transport the children to and from a nearby park, which is exactly insane. I don't see how that would be reasonable to... Yeah, there's no way you'd want that to be felony conduct. This technical violation of the agency's policies could not support a standalone finding that the defendants placed the victims in any direct line of danger. Yes. And the risk associated with child endangerment cannot merely be hypothetical, as the child must be physically close to an inherently dangerous situation of the defendant's creation. I actually had a case like that where I got Well, we argued it out, and then they finally dropped it because it was like all hypothetical. Like nothing had happened yet. Prosecutor said something was going to happen. I'm like, well, you guys should have waited to arrest her until something happened.
Yeah.
It's like
Something
sorry
could have
because
happened, but it didn't happen.
yes,
So
yes.
you get
Well, and
nothing.
I argued you guys should be happy. You prevented a crime from occurring. They were not happy when I said it like that. You guys saved the day.
Yay, you
Yes.
win.
Well, it didn't help. The other kid got really in. The other kid actually had suffered from abuse, so the prosecutor think that was funny. I'm like, I thought it was hilarious. Reiterating that where alternative theories of guilt are put forth under a single charge, jury unanimity is required only as of the verdict, not to any particular theory of guilt. And I disagree with that theory and that argument. The
But that is
jury
what the case law says.
and it is what the case law says. But I think that is an absolutely atrocious argument because I still think if there's multiple theories of guilt under a single charge, I think who did we watch recently where that happened to? Was it Hannah Reed? God, what trial was it? I don't know. They all blur together now. It shouldn't be allowed.
Why
If
not?
you want to charge, then charge it as another element. Like that's another count. Okay, convict them of count 5 instead of count 6. Charging it all together that way, I don't think is fair. Like if they did the conduct, you're now allowing. They should be forced to make a decision. Like I think it should be clear. And if it's a compromise verdict, fine.
But what
But
if you've got like 6 jurors who say, one mode and six
yeah,
jurors who say another, and the two modes are very similar? Like in Hannah's case,
yeah.
the two modes of conviction are very similar.
You mean with the lawful act and the unlawful act?
Yeah.
That's fine because that's not really like that's all one. That's all one thing. You either did this or this.
Right.
But it's not like they said you did an unlawful act and or a lawful act. And that's where I'd have a problem with it because I don't think that's fair to her saying, well, that means everything she done like that I think you kind of lead the jury to
But the Godoy case, the Godoy circumstance here is
yes.
you did you get to the crime through this method, or you get to the
Yes.
crime through this method, and both of them get you to the crime.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And there's those times where I don't disagree with it, but there's one we got to where it was literally completely different. I'm trying to remember now because I understand what you're getting at. Yes, I can commit a crime multiple ways,
yeah.
and that's not the issue. But I'm trying to remember which one it is now. But it's if there's multiple ways that the conduct is wrong, there's times where I have a problem with that.
We
And it's
just get to the circumstance where it's like,
yeah.
um,
And there's times where I understand that'll create a problem, but I'd rather deal with that problem than I think the unfairness sometimes that can present.
yeah, no, and that's fair enough.
I'll go back. I'll have to go back and look through because I know I watched it, and I can't remember for the life of me what it is. God, it's driving me crazy now. It's driving me crazy. Bella's saying, why were her and Alec tried together? They had completely different. Number one, the court wouldn't allow it because they're going to blame each other. And there's I don't know what you guys have up there, but in here it's called a Bruton issue. It was a United States v. Bruton. These guys were charged with robbing banks. Well, they started to turn on each other in the middle of trial, and then that becomes an issue of, okay, well, guess who Hannah's going to call to the stand? Alec Baldwin. And guess who Alec's going to call to the stand? Hannah. Well, guess what happens? Hannah's going to say, I plead the fifth. Well, now Alec can't confront Hannah because now she's asserted her Fifth Amendment rights like that. And Hannah can't confront Alec because Alec's going to shut up. And
We don't actually have that issue with the way Canada does it.
Oh, they're just like, you deal with it? Or how does that work?
Canada has it that you can't be called as a witness on your own trial. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
but you can have two co-accused who are charged together. Now, what you do if you didn't want that scenario because you really want to call the other person is you'd ask for severance and
Yes.
you'd say, I want these two split. But there's nothing that says that you can't have them heard together. It's just that
Well,
one party might not.
yeah.
And we don't like ours, like, let's say you're accused of a crime. It's basically that if you choose to get up on the stand, or if you're compelled to get up on the stand, you have to testify. There is no pleading the fifth on the stand. But
Really?
so let's say, let's say Hannah and Baldwin are both charged here in Canada, and they're charged separately. Hannah says, I want to call Baldwin. Baldwin doesn't get the opportunity. He doesn't get the option to say, whoa, 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 that'll incriminate me. I don't want to, I don't want to testify. He has to testify. The constitutional protection he gets is that he gets to say, okay, I have to testify, but none of this can be used against me in my trial. So the prosecution in Baldwin's trial can't use his testimony. So that's it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a shame, says the very poignant advice that if nobody talks, everybody walks.
oh, absolutely. It's and the funniest thing is one person talks and that person goes to jail.
Yes. Or he sends everyone to jail. And the other
That
issue in
that
the other
happens
issue,
too.
yeah, the other issue in Bruton, guys, and the other thing I forgot to explain though was in Bruton there was also an issue. It wasn't just a confrontation issue there, but one of the defendants in Bruton confessed to everything, and that's where this nobody talks, everybody walks. So there was a jury instruction saying, "Hey, even though Runkle confessed that him and Sean robbed the bank, you can only use it to convict Runkle." Well, guess what happened? They convicted him both because Runkle's like, "Yeah, me and Sean robbed the bank." So that was an issue, and then it becomes a confrontation problem because, well, now you guys are going to start having issues of confrontation there. So, um, it's I do like that though. So if Alec Baldwin, if in Canada, he could talk about things. If he mentions things and the prosecutor's like, I didn't know about that, can they independently find the evidence from there, or how does that work?
I would like they're not allowed to use it in the in the trial, but I'd argue that they were taken in violation if they went and did like a parallel construction thing.
Well, no. I guess I'm saying it like this. So, like, let's say Alec Baldwin admits to doing another crime, whatever it is, or he does something, and Carrie Morrissey's sitting there saying like, and let's say she's not prosecuting this one, but she's on Alec's trial and Hannah's trial with someone else, and Carrie's like, huh. She tells her investigators, go out and find out if that's true. And can they independently go out and verify it if they can find it through another means,
I think that
or would that
I'll
be
have to actually look that up as to see if like let's say you get Alec Baldwin and and Hannah
Yeah.
says, well, Alec did it, and Alec says, well, I couldn't have done it. I was off committing this other murder entirely.
Yeah.
And I was murdering this prostitute off, and and they're like, oh shit,
We didn't know about that.
like we didn't know about that,
And I buried her out back. Like,
yeah, and here's where the body is and so forth, and they go and I'd have to look it up. I think that they can it's just that they can't use his testimony, but
okay.
I'd have to look it up because I'm sure there's somebody who's been convicted on that basis.
Okay.
Well,
and
by the way, that's a hypothetical. Baldwin, don't sue me over that. That's purely a hypothetical.
We don't. We think a hooker would probably kick your ass.
We don't actually know where the body is.
Yeah. Because you did it right. No, because I was just thinking, like, when it comes to issues of, for example, like I have a client recently who we did a proffer, and in the proffer agreement, everything we say in the proffer, if we provide new, like, if we talk about things, it's kind of like the whole immunity issue. if you say something that's protected under the immunity agreement, but if they could prove it independently through other means, then
Yeah.
that's fair game. And I didn't know if that's how that would work. That's interesting though in Canada how that would work. So if I kind of, I mean, as a defense attorney, when I'm got somebody who's asserting the fifth, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I think that's
I
a good idea.
I quite literally have called somebody
Yeah.
to get up on the stand and testify that they actually committed the crime.
Wow.
Yeah, and the funny part was that this guy had already been acquitted
Uh-huh.
of the crime.
Yeah.
He'd been tried and didn't testify in his own defense. And I
Uh-huh.
was just like, so his case was over. It's done, right?
And there's no
It's
perjury there because
finished.
he didn't lie.
He didn't lie because he didn't
Yeah.
testify. It was just they
Yeah.
couldn't prove it. And so it was just like,
Jeez.
so yeah, he got up on the stand as like, I did it.
That's a king move.
And
That's a
the
king move.
prosecution's like, okay.
Sure? Are you sure you did it, sir?
Well, I mean, they're basically trying to suggest, like, okay, well, the reason you're agreeing to this is that
Yeah.
you can't be like,
Yes.
and he's like, I know I can't be prosecuted, but like, I did it.
He's like, I'll tell you how I did it. I'll walk you through it. KRS, it's yeah, they can't use the testimony as evidence, but they can use the evidence to find more testimony. Based on
or
what Ronco
testimony
says,
to
I'm
find
not
more
a-
evidence. Yeah,
I
I think
mean,
they can, but it's yeah.
yeah.
I'll have to look up like the parallel construction issues on that. So yeah,
That's interesting, though. Yeah, I would think that they probably would, and I mean, down here, courts are going to be like, they violation of your constitutional rights. They would never do it anyway. So they'll be like, yeah, it's good enough. He's guilty anyway. That's all that matters. That's the way courts here do it. So they're saying though, and they're talking about Godoy here, and they say for two reasons the Court of Appeals inappropriately relied on Godoy. First, because the issue of Godoy was not preserved. The Godoy court, or I think that's actually the right way to say it, was addressed where there's a fundamental error in the instructions, whereas the issue in this case was preserved. And that's kind of a big deal. If it wasn't preserved, you can't talk about it. Second, and decisively, Godoy has no applicability to cases such as this case, in which one of the alternatives on which the juries will return the guilty verdict is legally inadequate. So, concluding that when a verdict is supported on one ground but not on another, it's impossible to tell which ground the jury relied on, and therefore it's invalid. Well, we don't have that with Jason. We don't have that with Hannah. There's no issue there.
that's the thing is this is very clear about what it's about and what it's not about.
Yeah.
Because they're not saying Godoy is bad law. In
Yeah.
fact, they seem to say Godoy is just fine as legally. It's
Yes.
just a very different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And Godoy is the situation where Hannah lives,
Yes.
not Taylor.
Yes. Well, and that's just because when you talk about involuntary manslaughter, it becomes, it's a manslaughter committed in the commission of an unlawful act, not amounting to a felony, or in the commission of a lawful act which might produce death in an unlawful manner, or without due caution and circumspection.
Well,
and I don't.
And when you look at the actual
jury instruction, we'll get back to that. But you notice there's just and I don't understand why this was so difficult. But normally, like when you're, at least like I think if you're not crazy, you use the language of the statute because that's the law, and the courts never. It's very hard to screw that up when you use the actual statute. But look, it's just ors. There's no ands. That's pretty easy. But let's get back to this because does he? I forget how he does all this here. But yeah, this how he did this is not how you do it, guys. This is, and he just gets to the end. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he doesn't have another. Oh, we have the jury instruction on the back. Sorry, we'll get to that. God, which one did I? I lost the tab. All right, share tab. Okay. So let's get to what the jury instruction is. Jury instruction 12A. So if you want to find Hannah guilty of involuntary manslaughter, the state must prove to your satisfaction beyond a reasonable doubt each of the following elements of the crime. And this is so weird they have this all the way they did this, but whatever. Hannah loaded the live ammunition into a firearm intended to contain only inert ammunition. And or Hannah failed to perform an adequate safety check of the ammunition she loaded into the firearm. And that's the issue here, guys. This is that thing they're focusing on, because there's no more and/ors. So the rest of this is literally outside of what we're looking at. It's just this box right here. Box number 1. Because if she loaded live ammunition in a firearm intended to contain only inert ammunition, that is acting with a willful disregard for the safety of others.
Yep.
And I also don't understand why, because when you go back to the statute itself, it talks about in an unlawful which a lawful act which might produce death in an unlawful manner or without due caution and circumspection. I don't understand why you don't see that right here. And that's something I didn't understand, because if I'm the prosecutor, why wouldn't I just use the statute itself?
I don't get it.
You understand what I'm saying, right? Like,
Yep.
why is there no she exercised due care or lack of circumspection? Because there's no court going to say you are not going to get a court to say the statute's invalid. If you do, okay, fine, Hannah won the lottery. The statute exists. The statute exists. It's probably been challenged before. Use the elements of the statute, and say unlawful or due care. This would be. Was this there's way I think it's sloppy. I do agree. This is kind of sloppy, but I think it's understandable. Hannah failed to perform an adequate safety check of the ammunition she loaded in the firearm. Okay. Both of those would be on their own the criminal act. If she had failed to perform an adequate safety check of the ammunition she loaded, okay, yeah, that's manslaughter. That's not providing due caution and circumspection. And if she loaded live ammunition into a firearm intended only to contain inert ammunition, that's once again an act which might produce death, which without due caution and circumspection. Both of those are. It's not like the. It's not the daycare. By doing this, you're not like violating policy. You're like, no, she's literally doing a dangerous and deadly act. So.
Yeah, it's. We don't have
I was talking there, and you're just like, he's an idiot. That's okay.
We don't have the possibilities for the unlawful, the conviction based on lawful act.
Yeah.
It's just there's one unlawful thing or another unlawful thing.
Yeah.
That's
both
it.
Both of these are bad. Neither of these are good. If she loaded live ammo into a firearm meant to be only for inert ammo, that's not good. And if she failed to perform an adequate safety check of the ammunition she loaded in the firearm, although I think you could argue basically this is the same thing more or less anyway. Because if I loaded live ammunition in a firearm meant to be only for an inert, I didn't check it. So, unless they're arguing she had that second chance when she was in front of Dave Hall's, like, rotating the cylinder. Either way, I think you get to... This is one of those ones where, like you said, either one of those gets you to the same point.
I think the and/or is just fine here. So.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. If she did this one, okay, that's bad. Part 1's bad. The bottom part's just as bad. And, I mean, technically she did both of them. She failed to perform an adequate safety check. So, the ammunition didn't just walk into the gun. Hannah did it. So, I don't understand why Bowles thinks this helps him. This is far different. And, guys, you can see that right there. This is far different than we even got to before page 19. This is far different than, where is it? Yeah. This is far different than that. This is very different compared to this. Very, very different. This is vastly different.
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah, it's that's and and here's the thing, guys. We are only on this opinion. So yeah, this right here is vastly different than that.
it's just stunning.
Yes.
The Bulls is like, because he says like this is virtually
Yeah.
certain to result in Hannah's,
Yes.
trial being overturned, and I'm like,
And guys, there's 37 pages of opinion. I don't know if you can see this up there, but right here, we're only on page 15. And
and
we've been talking and bullshitting
mm,
and reading super
yeah,
chats.
nothing is virtually certain on this one.
Well, that's the other thing too. There's nothing Luke says you could also get to where Sarah loaded it or something, but Hannah picks up the gun and doesn't spot it. Yes, but that goes back to her not checking it. But I think it's more than likely what happens there. Bella's saying, hold up, 7 states aren't going to require lawyers to pass the bar. Won't that clog up courts of appeals for ineffective assistance of counsel? No,
No,
because courts are going to say, well, you have your choice of attorney, lol. And that's
and
it.
he was conscious during the whole
Yeah.
trial.
Yes, he done tried real hard. No, they are not gonna. They are not. They're gonna say lol, and they're gonna say Lamau. That's your fault. But he was court appointed. Oh well. Yeah, that's not gonna change a lot. And honestly, here's the other thing, Bella, and most people, if you were like start looking around for attorneys, you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna see down at the bottom of like legal, like on the bottom of business cards or on the bottom of legal advertisements. I passed the bar. And that's going to be enough in those states to like give it like a 10 years. I passed the bar is going to be actually something you see all over the place because like I have a basic level of competency I can prove. So I don't think that's a good it's not a good idea, but hey, you know, that's there's a lot of other problems in the law besides that. Um and then they come to this case here where they state like that an if instruction is facially erroneous that if an instruction is facially erroneous, it presents an incurable problem and mandates reversal. The defendant's convictions are reviewed due to the confusing, misleading, and incorrect elements given to the jury. Sufficient of the evidence, they don't have to address that because they've already said we're doing it. Judicial restraint prevents them from wanting to comment further. And they go on here and they point out the problems. But we get to and even if you read this conclusion, based on the significant risk of injury, of jury confusion and misdirection created by the use of the ambiguous term and identifying the underlying course of conduct in the jury instructions as framed, they reverse the reckless child abuse convictions. Okay. And this was a majority of the court. And also, yeah, it was like, I don't know how many they have down there. Probably at least 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like only one judge really dissented. No relation, guys. No relation. If there was a relation, I'd have been clerking for Uncle. I'd have been clerking for Uncle Jim. I don't have an Uncle Jim though, so because that would have looked good that would have looked a lot better on my resume than what I have. So,
oh man, the amount of nepotism and so forth in this profession.
yes, well, I'm the first attorney in my family that I know of. Like and I asked my grandfather before he lost his mind, like in my entire family. He's like, nah, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. He's like, maybe like in the 1800s, but not recently.
Yeah, no, I'm the only lawyer, at least in the family, I've got any connection with. So,
yeah, and guys, and here's the point: this guy, the attorney the justice who disagrees says, a reasonable juror can understand the and/or structure. Okay, the alternative ways for the jury unanimously agree on any of the events that result in the failure of the defendants to remove the victims from the vehicle that exposed them. Okay, well, if I'm Carrie, I can say, look, you don't really necessarily want to argue the dissent, but even the dissent agrees the jury can figure out what Hannah did. They can look at this and say she loaded live ammo or she didn't check the gun. And I agree, Luke, maybe they're going to make the argument if Hannah says, well, someone else did it. It's like, well, you never caught it. And it goes back to that whole, but they're not going to point out, like, Hannah lost the gun. All those other things that Hannah did, they're not going to shoehorn those in here because those aren't relevant to whether or not she did it. Those are just their circumstances, but that's, and I think the court, if they could really say it, would be like, that's your closing argument. That's not the jury instruction.
Yeah.
Because you'd point out, look how reckless they were. They didn't do anything right. And that's what Carrie showed. Look at how bad Hannah was. She didn't do anything right. So, yeah, this is not, guys, this is not good. And when I first heard this, I'm like, I can't imagine he got this right. But
I was just like, wait a minute. Like I looked at it initially and I was like, they can't possibly have thrown out every jury instruction with and or.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I was like, initially I heard this. I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe whatever weird things happen. But yeah, this is kind of embarrassing. And by kind of, I mean a fucking shitload embarrassing. Because
yeah.
he's gonna, he's. I don't know what Carrie Morrissey's gonna have a very short, like, this is completely mischaracter. Like, she's gonna say it in a way that he completely mischaracterizes the argument, but that's it. I mean, it's gonna be. Yeah. But chat, most importantly, I can say with this, it's not a defamation case. Now, when Carrie starts talking shit about him, yes, that could be a defamation case.
Not if it's in a filing.
Yes.
It takes a lot to get to a defamation case from a filing.
Well, I'm more thinking about what I'm gonna say, what I'm saying. So, where are we? Hella says, what if it's a public defender? Well, I see public defender's offices making sure people have adequate training. She's going back to the unbarred, taking cases. I can see the requirements being passed for public defender's offices taking only barred people or people who can pass a competency test of some level. Ag says licenses are dumb, yes. But when it comes, I agree, but, you don't want to have to find out the hard way your doctor's a retard or your lawyer's a retard. I mean, everybody likes the idea of, like, libertarianism, and I like it too, to an extent. But libertarianism carried out to its ultimate end is Weyland-Yutani or the Tyrell Corporation. Like, not good things. Not good things. Weyland-Yutani is the epitome of libertarianism, I would argue. From Aliens.
I'm libertarian-ish in that my general philosophy is that the purpose of government is to bring the most liberty to the most people.
Yes.
And that recognizes that, for instance, corporations would really love to squash your experienced liberty.
Yes.
And also that, like, a lot of people don't, they get sort of nominal freedom, but they don't actually have the ability to exercise much of it. So,
yes. Oh, I agree. Well, I just point that out because people are like, oh, well, I'm like, yes. And the idea of, like, peak libertarianism is where you work at the company store and you're paid in company script. Like,
yeah.
That was very libertarian. It was based. There were no roads, and they had their own money. And they had their own police. They had private police. They had private detectives. Those Pinkertons.
And that worked real well.
Yeah. Did you guys have Pinkertons up in Canada or no?
I don't think so. I don't think they got a... I mean, I think they're here now, but, like, just as a detective agency.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, when... I don't think that they were here during the big, although I don't know. Now I'm going to have to check.
Well, like, they don't have the same reputation as here in America, where Pinkertons were known as just hired thugs and...
Yeah, I don't think they quite had the same.
Yeah.
I don't know that they were sort of given the same amount of power up here, but we had
Hmm.
similar issues of.
And 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 Luke, they do need sufficiency in that case, but we don't need sufficiency here because we're already to the point where the jury instruction is fine. So they needed it in their case, but I'm not worried about it for our matter. And frankly, I
Yeah.
care what those two ladies were doing with their SUVs full of kids. I'm sure it was the most fly by night daycare in the world. So I'm more
Or
worried
just
about our
lots of
case.
people forget about things.
Yeah.
It just
Well, yeah. I've left things in a car before, but never anything that was gonna die.
yeah. I just noted
Yeah.
a little bit ago. I went and I
Yeah.
went to the post office, picked up a package,
Mm-hmm.
put it in the back seat, and I was like, "Why is there chicken in the back seat?" Because there was like a tray of chicken thighs in the back seat.
Nice.
Now it's Canada, so it wasn't like super nasty, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm sure it was frozen for part of the time. But I was just like, I don't know
Oh.
how long or how much this has been frozen.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going in the trash because I don't know if it's going to
Yeah.
kill me and I don't want to die from like eating, backseat chicken. So, um,
So
yeah, I
you
ended
don't
up
know. Well,
tossing that.
they're already dead.
Yeah,
And
the
you created
chicken
new life
was.
with the bacteria. So there you go.
I'm just
So,
saying it's probably a good thing that I'm not a
yeah.
parent.
Yeah. So Hannah's lawyer submitted a shitty appeal. I mean, this was a bad motion. This is a bad motion, and that's the thing. His motion's only like 2 pages long to start with, which is
And
yeah,
he, I mean, he's been shitty throughout the whole
yeah,
thing,
and
so there was no reason for him to change gears now.
no, and that's the thing. When your attorney's like, look, just read it for yourself. Like, no, show me the part and show me. Like I said, guys, when you do a motion, that's what it should be. Because
The only time
the judge will go
you
look it up on his own.
the only time you could really be
Mm.
like, look, read it for yourself is if it's
Yeah,
so freaking obvious.
yeah.
But like, I don't know that I just get the feeling that he didn't read it
Hmm.
for himself.
Yeah, no, I like I said, there were many points where I would have stopped and go, "Oh, damn."
Yeah, I would have been like, ah, shoot,
Yeah,
this case doesn't help Hannah at all.
no. Hell is like talking about super lawyers. Yes, the super lawyers. Do you guys have those up in Canada?
We've got some similar things. I
Okay.
generally consider them to be dumb.
Oh,
Um, at one point, I forget which one it was that reached out and was like, "We would like to feature you as this," and I was like,
yeah.
"No." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I don't give you permission to put my name on your webpage." They went, "No one's ever said that before," and I was like, "Okay,
Oh,
no."
yeah. Jim
So
Cox been a member for 1 month. Says switchy. I mean, obviously it shows up there, but yes, you gotta do your Glock check. Um,
snitches get switches.
well, yeah, but it's more the Glock switches
Oh, I
because this is. Oh, I that was. Oh, I because did I show you this clip before?
yeah.
Yeah, the kids going hard in the paint. Yeah, so it's a Glock
Oh, I've
emoji.
seen a
So
few of
yeah,
them where there's various groups of kids showing off,
oh, those kids
throwing
are.
off their switches.
Yeah,
Look at switchy. No talk. No cap. No talk.
I love the one kid's just like no cap, and I'm like,
The
even
fun thing
this
is,
Glock doesn't even have a switchy on it.
if I get
Sadly,
my business firearms license, I could probably import a Glock and a switch.
yes. Well, Glock's being
Just be.
sued now too. So
I saw that. I'm actually
and not
gonna probably go over it soon.
and not for the horse cum either. Surprisingly,
Although
that if I was
I'm
Glock,
sure that
if I was Glock, I would show up in court and be like, Your Honor, I don't know why we're here about horse cum today. Are the kids using it? Like we agree, don't.
listen, we're willing to settle.
Yeah.
Every town can have as much horse cum as they want.
Yes. We will stop shipping to Chicago and just include the bottom. Only horse cum. We'll ship more guns. So Bell's for $5 saying if I write a book or a movie based on a wife killer suicide case in the style of Gone Girl, plus the life of David Gale, how much for your legal expertise?
He'll do it for $12.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be that would be interesting. I'd be curious to see how you wrote that out, the story. And then Carrie says for $4.99, Sean, how many times did you have to take the bar? J Rock said 10 times. Is that true? That's not true. I passed the first time. I passed the first time, and I'm happy I did.
We don't actually have a bar exam where I am in Alberta, so
well, you guys don't have like you guys do have any sort of testing or anything like that to do it, or is that just depending on
different
your
provinces
province?
have different rules. So some of them do have like a bar exam. Here we have to do like a year of apprenticeship kind of thing,
Yeah.
and so yeah.
Okay. But you can't really waive that part, can you? You have to do that part, right?
Yeah, you can't waive
Okay.
that. You're stuck doing it. And believe it or not, some people get bounced. There have been a number of people who've been disbarred during their articling years. So before they're even a lawyer, they get disbarred.
Oh.
It's I'm from Alberta, guys, not Washington.
Jeez, guys. And Looper says a new trial for Hannah just means another guilty verdict. Yeah, I mean there's no evidence they're gonna find where all of a sudden, oh, this changes everything. She's still.
I mean, if she got a new trial with a lawyer who like lawyered, she might have a shot.
Maybe.
Like
yeah, there's always the chance, but I don't know. I just. I mean, I think he could probably have the jury out longer and maybe get a hung jury, but I don't think she's getting acquitted. I think she gets a hung jury, and then yeah, they don't retry this if she gets a hung jury. I don't think they. I don't know if they because if they got a hung jury, that would help Alec Baldwin out a ton. Because if they can't even convict her, it might
I
not be
think
worth
Alec
going after
Baldwin is pretty. I mean, I think Alec Baldwin is actually not as worried by Hannah's conviction as the number of people have said, because a whole bunch of the evidence came out really hard on Hannah in ways that is good for Baldwin. And some of these are experts that the prosecution plans to call again. And at that point, they're pinned down with testimony under oath.
Yes.
That is good for Baldwin. I mean, my bet right now is that Baldwin walks at the end of his trial.
I mean he you know, other than the fact he shot the lady, yeah, there's a lot there that he has a lot better of a chance of a jury seeing it his way than Hannah did.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Alec's attorneys are going to be very good. That's going to be the big thing here. There's going to be a lot of things done. They're going to make some proper arguments. They're not going to have awful experts. I mean, yes, and also I think Alec Baldwin's attorneys can get acquitted. Hannah was never going to get acquitted, I don't think.
If they'd done a better job, they might have been able to point more fingers at Baldwin. Yeah. Say, listen, she was super inexperienced. You know, Dave Halls was supposed to check this. You know, this kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that gets her a hung jury, which I think is that's good enough.
I think a hung jury gets her to not convicted.
Oh, you think so?
I think if they can hang it once, or maybe they have to do it twice, the prosecution gives up after a bit.
Oh, I was thinking after the first time they were going to say screw it.
Yeah, they might take a second run at it just because it's high profile. But I mean, I think
but you're right though. Yeah, like Dave Halls, his testimony's locked in. Joel Sousa's is locked in. I mean, the one witness is really bad for Baldwin is that Ross Adiago guy who's like, I'm mad at everybody. Everybody else isn't like, I'm not really that mad. It's like, I miss Helena, but nobody's out there like, oh my God, it's Hannah's fault. Like, Nobody's out there screaming like a lunatic. And if this stuff that's in the motion to dismiss is correct,
And the thing is that
ooh,
I think you can deal with like Adiago
mm-hmm.
by getting him on cross pointed to just how mad he is at Hannah,
Yes. Oh,
right?
I think so.
And
And he also didn't actually see it.
yeah,
You know.
so I think
Mm-hmm.
it's possible to steer him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, I thought Hannah's lawyers could have done a better job steering him towards production, but
Mm-hmm.
they didn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, the lawyering thus far has not been good, but I
Mm-hmm.
expect that Baldwin's team is going to do a much better job.
Well, did you read that his motion to dismiss? It's
I
very well
did.
put together. I was impressed by that. That was, and what I
I
saw
didn't
in it.
like how much it looked to me like it was a media production,
Well,
and it spends a lot of time going over stuff that is already ancient history. Like the court's
yeah,
going to be like ruled on this,
yeah,
and
but I think if it turns out well, and I'm surprised it took him this long to come up with this stuff.
I think he needed to focus in on the like on the critical issues of what they didn't call and so
Mm-hmm.
forth,
Yeah,
um,
and
rather than throwing all that other crap
mm-hmm.
in. Because when you pile a bunch of garbage with your good
Mm-hmm.
arguments, it just
Yeah,
makes them look like, it doesn't make the garbage look good. It makes the rest of it look like garbage.
yeah, it makes it look like you smear garbage everywhere, and then yeah, it's a room full of
So
garbage.
I I give it about a 30% shot at working, which
It's
is better than nothing.
Oh yeah,
Like
no, it's well, and that's the thing, guys. I'm not saying it's a home run, but it's like yes, a 30%. If you taking a
30%
30%
shot on a
chance,
motion to dismiss is take it
very
that every time.
yes,
And
and a
that's
prosecutor's gonna sweat because
if
that's
I was Morrissey, I'd be sweating right now.
yeah,
Um, I can say like Hannah Gutierrez's motion, like that's
yeah,
something you just like find a junior in your office and you're like, deal with this shit.
yeah,
Uh, whereas the other, you're waking up and you're dealing with it.
yeah. Well, Kerry could do like a one-page motion saying he completely misstates the facts at hand, and we ask the court not to entertain this motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super simple. But Alec, he's got a fighting shot at this, and but I don't, like I said though before with these cases. It's like with James Crumley. It's like with all these other ones. Mary Summer Marlowe is not going to be the one who goes, "Yep, Alec, you're out of here, sir. Have a good one." She's not going to do that. She's not going to be that person.
Yeah.
So he's well, sorry, she's not going to do that because she wants to keep being judge, and if she does that, she's done. So, but yes, I do think this is funny though. He filed a motion requesting a hearing, or I guess this is how they do it in New Mexico. Instead of you have to request a setting, which states every state does things so weird. A request for setting that almost seems like something you'd see for a movie. Like I assume, it's just the dates of the so sentencing's April 15th. Okay, well, Hannah doesn't have to worry about filing her taxes. And then that's our tax deadline in America. So, the matter to be heard, the emergency motion.
I got to do my taxes by the end of the month.
Oh, ooh.
It's gonna suck. When you make any amount of money on YouTube, suddenly your taxes start to get shitty.
I bet. Well, as I say, I don't know. They get like you're like, what's this 1099 thing?
Well, that I can, thankfully, because Canada and the US have a tax treaty.
Yeah.
I can just tell YouTube like, hey, listen, I'm paying taxes on my end. Don't take anything out, which is good because it saves me from having to file a US tax return, which would be a nightmare. But I still I have to deduct a bunch of weird deductions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it was the year before or this year that I have to deduct a gun.
Oh.
Like I bought the same gun Baldwin used.
Yeah.
And
I was going to do that at some point.
So now I have to deduct that.
Nice. There you go.
And yeah. It's like, okay, I got to deduct a gun and make sure if the government audits me, it's going to be just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, they're like, did you really need this? Yeah. Let me show you, tax guy.
Well, I actually may have to show videos, and I've got other guns I've bought for videos that I haven't yet done the video for. And so they might be like, well, was that really an expense? And it's like, well, yeah. But like, I did actually talk to the guy at the Canada Revenue Agency whose job it is to like basically look at influencers' tax returns.
Oh, okay.
And he said basically, just so long as you aren't being stupid about things, they're probably going to be fine about it. He's like, the people who really get in trouble are the people who make like, $500,000 in a year, which I am not, and then deduct the entire $500,000.
Yes.
On things like, what are your deductions? Well, I film in my house, so my whole mortgage payment is deductible.
Yeah, my whole house, I use the whole pool and everything for my videos.
And I mean, it might be possible to deduct your house entirely, so long as you don't use the house for anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be interesting stuff, for me too this year. So. But yeah, so the estimated time Bowles is requiring is 30 minutes. We aren't going to need 30 minutes, buddy. We could probably, in reality, we could probably just, if I was Judge Marlowe, I'd be like, you know what? Here's how much time I'm going to give you.
If I was him, I'd be asking for more than 30 minutes.
What, so you can get laughed at?
I'd be bringing in letters. I'd be...
Yeah.
Like,
the judge is going to be like, I'll give you 3 minutes. Let's go.
I mean, unless him and the prosecution end up with an agreement on sentence. I think
no. He's talking about the setting for the emergency motion.
Oh, for the emergency motion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give him 30 minutes for that.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. No, if I was the judge on this, I'd be like, look, I'll give you like 3 minutes, buddy. You're not getting 30. I'll give you 3. Well, judge, that's not enough time. It's like, yes, it is. I've already got my mind made up. So let's go. You got 3 minutes, buddy.
The judge is just going to be sitting there through his submissions doing this the whole time.
Well, no, if I was that judge, I'd be coming. I'm like, all right, look, it's lunch. Let's go. Like, I'll be like, all right, come on, come on. I'm browsing Twitter. Let's go. What do you got?
I just send a letter back saying you should probably save your time and. Yes. Like devote it towards your sentencing. Well, I thought he was asking for 30 minutes on his sentencing.
Oh, no. This is him saying because the sentencing's already been set.
Yeah,
but he wants to set the new trial order, and it's like, I if I was the judge, I'd be like, yeah, we'll do this one over video.
And it's like, Carrie Morrissey, how long do you need? And she's like, 2.
Yeah,
2 minutes.
Yeah, I just need 1 minute, Judge. And she's like, she'll just be like, all right, look, let's go. And what are you guys talking about here? Are you talking about that's what DSP does? He claims to have $5,000 in business expenses every month. Yeah, well, DSP, that guy is like slips on banana peels and does a backflip. So, I don't recommend doing what he's done, guys, for your taxes. It won't end well.
There are people who do legitimately have huge business expenses every month. Yeah. You just got to...
you got to do it right. And those guys use professionals.
Yeah, I know I'm going to get audited at some point, and I want to be able to go through all of my expenses and be like, this is why that's legitimate. This is why that's legitimate. This is why that's legitimate. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to end up, eating huge fines and jail time, and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
You say you can't do the whole taxes don't exist in Canada defense. You can't be like
No,
you can't
that's
you
not a winning strategy.
can't do the Wesley Snipes defense.
Although I did see a lawyer at one point. He walked into court and he was like, he said something like, "Your Honor, our defense is that this is, an illegitimate admiralty, whatever."
Mm.
And the judge was just like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm just kidding, Your Honor. Let's go." And the judge's expression was like just this horrible expression of,
Yes.
terror.
And was
He's
Chris
like, "Yeah, I'm just kidding."
Oh, and this is a good question. Do the Twitch sleep streamers deduct their whole house?
I don't think so.
No, but they might. Let's say, like, if they bought really good, like, if they bought a camera to film themselves with, it's like,
The camera you could deduct.
yeah. So it's when you're talking to the IRS guy. Well, what does this camera cost? I film myself sleeping. He's gonna be like, okay, I'm leaving.
I mean, at some point, I'm going to be buying a high-speed camera.
Yeah, and that'll be good. And for the streamer, like, if he bought really good sheets, because he's like, I sleep all the time, and I want to be comfortable while I'm doing it, he could probably get away with that. But he's not gonna, what else is he gonna do for his house? Like, if he bought a white noise machine so he could sleep better, so I could give my chat better quality content. But
Yep.
other than that, the rest of the house isn't really my kitchen. Well, how does your kitchen help you sleep? So no. There's things he could pay for, though. Yeah, the judge is checking Pinterest while Bowles is making his argument.
Somebody's asking, does Amaranth claim her fake honkers under taxes? She possibly could.
She could if she got him to make herself more attractive and, like, marketing wise. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but it seems like it could be a reasonable expense for, an actor, etc. The thing is you run into trouble when it's like dual use things, like, noting you can deduct your home office. You can, the percentage of which you use it for home office-y stuff. And so if you've got a room that you only use for streaming and for no other purpose, you can deduct the heck out of that.
Yes.
But if you've got stuff that you only use for, like, that use for everything, like my home office is also where I sit around playing video games and where I,
or like if you use your living room and you just set up the camera and nobody walks behind you while you're filming, but as soon as you're done, you sit there and everybody uses the room. Yeah, that's yeah.
Can you write off Baldos?
if you're in a business where that's necessary, yeah. So MG Law's coming over. Okay. So they got he just got done watching Chili DeCastro's trial.
I haven't watched that one yet.
Oh, it's good. You got to watch the beginning.
Send me the link to, like, the raw on that one.
Yeah, well, I don't have the raw. I can only our Nevada Judges. It's a channel. They film a lot of stuff in Nevada. So they got their graphics all over it. There's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, I mean, that's fine. Just so long, like,
it's good. It's good. You need to listen to him at the beginning because that sets the tone. I won't tell you what he says.
I don't know his.
You don't know his shtick?
I don't know his shtick, but.
Okay. Oh, I know it. I'm well versed in Chili's lore. I did Chili does not like me because I'm smarter than him because I'm also fat. So Chili is he's been around for, like, he initially was like a guy out in Hollywood. He was going to be on the Power Rangers, like the original Power Rangers. He was going to be the Black Ranger, but apparently he screwed that up because he's crazy.
Did he drop the hard R? Or?
No, well, no. He apparently was like something bad. So he did something bad, and then he ended up at one point getting raided by the LAPD for. He claims it was just for people said it's for dealing GHB. He's like, it wasn't dealing. I had a bunch of it, and he's like, GHB is like a sex drug. If you take it, it makes you like a sexual tyrannosaur. Like. Yes, I'm sure it makes you a sexual tyrannosaur for that woman you knocked out with it. But he had it, and he got diversion for felony drug stuff, which, in the early to mid 90s, just based on my experience as an attorney, he talked about people. Probably. I mean, that's how you usually get out of those problems. So you start naming names. So he's in and out of like
I
being an actor, having bit roles and all kinds of goofy stuff on the internet that has been found and people are now making fun of him for.
I had a client at one point who
Yeah.
got found with a substantial amount of drugs, but there was a problem with
Yeah.
the search.
Oh,
And so the prosecution was offering him a deal, and he's like, I like the deal, but it needs to have more time than what they're offering.
yeah.
And I'm like, why? He's like, because if I get just 30 days on this, I'm going to get murdered. Everybody will think I talked. And so we ended up like he wanted a year because if he got 30 days, he was going to get murdered.
What
People
a year.
thought
Jeez. So yeah, he ate 11 months to.
he ate a lot of time just because he was like, and I
Yeah.
went back to the prosecutor and I was like,
Yeah.
he wants more time than that. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I got it in writing. Like,
yes.
what do you want me to do here? And they're like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it was actually still a good deal at a year.
Yeah, and so Chili talked, it sounds like. And Chili has a history of, well, like he said, like, I was never a stalker. But then he's like, yeah, I had a girlfriend and I found, like, I went to go see her at college and I just couldn't. And he eventually basically admits to being a stalker and following this girl around. Like, he's got all these issues. Like, I don't have a criminal record, but it's like, but you have been convicted of things. So he goes through all that, and then he ended up being on TikTok. And he was on TikTok. He was trying to basically hustle and scam black people. And the black community on TikTok was like, get out of here, you scumbag, And he then ended up coming to YouTube, and he started pumping, and he pumps all these kind of like gooberish things. And he latched onto the sovereign citizen train. And he considers himself, well, he's a sovereign citizen, but he says he's a constitutional law scholar. He says he believes in the rule of law. He just thinks that we're not applying the rule of law properly. So Chili's idea is that the biggest thing in America that's wrong is Terry versus Ohio, that allows police to pat you down and pat for weapons. Like, I agree. The Fourth Amendment suffered massive erosions throughout the past 120 years, and Terry v. Ohio is not a good thing. Terry v. Ohio does eliminate, instead of now having probable cause to do a search, it's reasonable articulable suspicion for the police to do a search. If they think criminal activity is afoot, they can pat you down for their safety. And that's not fair. But unlike Chili seems to think that fixing that would magically like change the landscape tomorrow. And I will agree with Chili on like two things. He says don't talk to the police, and I agree with that. And he also says, when you see police doing stuff, get your camera out and film them. And I think that's a fair thing too.
Yep.
The police need to be held accountable. But that's about where it ends with Chili. He gives out really crappy legal advice. He thinks he knows the law. He gives up people these like little flyers, and they contain all. Like I did a video on it, and where I break down all the cases he cites, and I'm like, these half of them don't work except in like a limited area in America, and then half of them are like, yeah, every other place agrees. Or he'll cite one of his cases. He cites is a case that's titled Commonwealth v. Barr, and it's because it's the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And he says, well, his argument was, well, because it's the Commonwealth, that predates America, so therefore anything, this law, this ruling is the supreme law of the land. It's literally what he says.
Okay.
Yeah. And he then started in the past, year and a half, trying to become like a civil rights activist for people. People were getting, tell me where you live and if the cops are treating you bad. So he made his real initial appearance down in Ironton, Ohio. So I have a little bit of a connection to this, and that's way down on the Ohio River. And he goes down there and starts screwing around in the town. And eventually they charge him with a couple of crimes, and Chili skips town. That's he has warrants in a lot of places. He ends up, Turtle Boy. I know
Yep.
you're. So Chili runs around with Turtle Boy up in Massachusetts dealing with another troll. Her name's Kate, and Chili is this big bad man, gets hustled and bumped by a woman, and he goes running over to the police screaming for like, "Help me! This woman's being mean to me, a Westha." Um. Anyway, so Chili's sad. He's got warrants in a lot of states. He files lawsuits all the time for all kinds of nonsense from the police. The lawsuits fall apart because Chili just quits participating, and then at the last minute asks to get like back in on the case, and they let him back in. Then he screws it up. He's left a lot of people hanging. There are people he said like I'm helping file lawsuits. The lawsuits collapse. Don't take a plea. That person ends up having to take a plea because they've relied on Chili, and they're left out twisting in the wind when Chili disappears. So finally, Chili was in Las Vegas, and that's where he claims to like reside now. He was watching a police stop, a traffic stop. He rolls up to it, and basically the cop tells him to scoot back. Chili doesn't, and then the cop tries to arrest Chili, and Chili starts fighting him, and goes from there.
Ooh.
And that's when he goes on trial. He's on trial for that. So, Chili's
Yeah.
got a whole set of issues. He's there's so much, and I didn't even really scratch the surface of what Chili does.
Don't fight the cops, kids.
Yeah, well, there's that, but
usually I fought the law and the law won. It means I fought the law and the law put 2 rounds into my back.
Yeah, well, he's been very lucky in that regard, but Chili has all these like weird views. Like he thinks he claims that he's like a libertarian, but his idea of like what the government should do is basically he wants the police to wear cameras. And he wants them to wear like these cameras and he had these live shows where he talked about it. He's like, imagine you could tell who's a lawgiver by what they wore on their head, not what they wore on their chest. And you'd be wearing like this like 6-sided camera. So it'd have like 360 degrees of view. And that's how the police would do things, because his idea is the police should not use handcuffs on people. And his idea is, let's say you're at home and you and your wife are having a domestic issue. So your wife calls the cops, and the police would show up. Except they're not called police. He's changed the names before, but he calls them transparency now. That's in his world. And the transparency police show up. And, oh, I forgot, they're not peace officers anymore, they're rights protectors. So they show up, and they're like, what's going on? And they got their cameras on all the time, and they think, Chili's idea is, with those cameras on, you won't be out of line. That you won't try to fight them because they're like, sir, he calls it digital detainment.
Has he not ever watched video cameras of people interacting with the cops?
Yes. Well, that's the thing, and that's yeah. I'm like, well, my clients seem to like you're on camera. They don't seem to care, but he thinks that'll show, because they'll be like, sir, Mr. Runkle, you're digitally detained. Will you please come with us? If you come peacefully, that'll be great. If not, the judge is going to see all this. And his idea is, well, you'll be like, okay, do, and you walk off.
I had a video of a guy who like unzipped and pissed on the cop. I can't share it because it was like client footage, but like I feel like that contradicts his point.
I agree. Well, and then he gets even further because like it got to the point of people like, well, what happens if guys want to fight the cops? And he said, well, he wants to do what they'll do is they'll bring in these other cops who show up. Oh, and by the way, these cops with the cameras are like on every corner, so they can immediately respond.
Okay.
And these cops and their cameras are always on. They can't turn them off because that way it prevents the cops from being shady. But now there's a surveillance state. So I don't see how that works in Chili's world. But like I said, if you watch my videos, I point out why I don't know how that works. The police would then show up with these have you ever seen like in college, like a football practice with the big like tackle dummies the coaches can hold, like the big blocking pads?
Yep.
Okay. So his idea is that if you didn't want to comply and you were being combative, these 2 cops would come in with these big blocking pads, and they would sit there and start popping you with it and shoving you around. Because, well, you'll just get tired and you won't want to fight anymore. And then as soon as you give up, they'll take these big Velcro straps and wrap them around you, so now you can't move. Like that's his idea. Like you're gonna be like wrapped up like this. You're like you know. Oh wait, regardless of the idea, this might give people like asphyxiation issues.
Has he ever met like a person?
Yeah, well, no, he thinks this can happen because he's a state champion wrestler from Alaska. He's a jiu-jitsu master. He was a basically like a tackle dummy in one of Ken Shamrock's like old jiu-jitsu videos. So
Cool.
that's why he thinks he's important.
I
Yeah,
would like to introduce him to one of my clients on Meth with a Hatchet.
Yeah, well, and then he says at some point, yes, the police would be able to use weapons, but it's like their last resort.
It's already their last resort.
Well, some cops it is, but it should be. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, they're not just like, shooting you for fun, typically.
Normally, yes. And hold on here. I'll show you I gotta find the good chili clip here. If you haven't seen them. Let's see here. Where is... You know what? I'll show you... Where's the motorcycle one? I'll show you the more recent... Because he got into an issue with cops, and we'll show...
Doesn't him needing to be arrested disprove his entire theory?
Well, yeah, that he wouldn't comply either. Yes. Well, he's got this thing like he's always upset with cops. He gets really mad all the time. He literally loses his fucking mind every... Like, well, if I'm trying to find the one to show you, because he can't handle the... Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Just, so he tries to act like he's calm, but he can't handle the shit around the police. Like, he's got his dad clearly disappeared on him early in life because he's got daddy issues out the wazoo. So here we go.
I was heading to the gym and I saw something down here open up for me, and I just wanted to begin filming here.
So he found police lights and he's gonna go walk around, and he parks, he gets out of his car, and he starts walking around, and he walks over to this cop over here, and he walks over to that guy in the motorcycle, and the guy in the motorcycle says, like, once you come around this building here, walk around the gas station and you can cut through. So Chili walks past him, and here's what Chili does. We'll skip ahead a second here.
Hello, sir.
Hellos for suckers.
Did you hear him? They
I
say
heard
hello,
the
sir.
off-
Yeah, they're like, hello, sir. And he's like, hellos for suckers. Oh, this is if he doesn't have autism, I am very surprised, because the way he acts at times, like if you saw this guy walking down the street, the way he's dressed, and he wears his headphones all the time, kind of like in oh god, what is it? There's something about Mary, like, the one guy has the headphones on all the time.
Haven't seen that movie.
Okay, well, he walks around with his headphones on, and then when he has them off, he just walks around like this all the time, just all everywhere he goes. Like if you saw him walking down the street, like he's gonna look like a spaz here. So here we go.
Can we help you, sir? Can we help you?
You could just do your job, mind your own business. That's what you could do.
Excuse me?
I told you, I'd say it again, you could mind your own business. I'm doing my job. I appreciate your time. But just, if I was you, I'd just shut your mouth and I'll put you in your place. That's what I'd do if I was you. I'd shut up. If I was you. Unless you want to look like an idiot on YouTube.
We're still pretty close to the road, so let's push this out a little bit further.
If you
Yeah.
just keep going that way for me, I'm okay if you videoing,
No.
but video over there for me,
Don't tell me where to stand. I'm a constitutional law scholar. I'm suing you guys for $5 million. I'll sue you for $5.
And that's the thing. When he got sued for this trial he just had, he's suing them for $5 million. And I gotta find the B, because he carries two cameras. He carries two phones, and he has himself filmed the other way. Where is it?
Just the way he phrased that sounded
Yes.
a lot like a threat to me.
Well, he's got that issue, and he's also just it's daddy issue central with this guy. Hold on,
And
I'm
I'm
gonna try to
like,
find. Yeah.
you're gonna be threatening the cop. Cool.
Well, yeah,
that's a choice.
Yeah, where is this second part of it? Okay, come on. I had it earlier. It is so damn funny. Because when he's filmed the way he's reacting, you're just like, this guy's got mental health problems.
I mean, I feel bad for him if he does have mental health problems.
Well,
but,
I mean, but it's not like true like crippling mental health problems. He could have like handled himself like an adult, and this wouldn't be an issue for him.
Yeah, his problems so far seem to be just that he's an idiot who's looking for a fight.
Well, that's most of what he does.
Yeah, we've got some guys in Canada that I've had several people send me messages about, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh, Gary, like,
yeah. Oh, where is it? I had it up earlier because we were watching it yesterday. You know, we'll just go back to this one because I think he shows himself after a minute, but just you can see how he handles himself here, and it's just
See for $5 million.
it's more of just it's ridiculous the way he treats, and you know, yeah, and it's more of him being an asshole, but you don't really know. So, but yeah, here you go.
And more. You don't have a right to tell me what to do.
I'm just asking you to
Shut
stand
your
over there.
piggish
We're
mouth.
still doing
Sir,
it.
you
Don't
see the crime
approach
scene
me.
tape?
Shut your mouth.
Sir, do you see the crime
Shut
scene
your
tape
mouth
over there?
and shut your mouth.
you see
I'm
the
your
tape?
boss.
Do you see the tape
You
over there?
understand that?
Let's
Shut
go
your
back
mouth.
over
I'm
there.
walking down the street. Mind your own business.
No,
I'm just standing here.
this is-
If you hadn't
listen,
approached
I'm the
me,
sergeant.
don't come behind me, piggy. Okay. If you hadn't approached me, I don't give a damn what you are. You're not a sergeant. Shut your mouth. I'm here doing my job. I'm a member of the press. I invoke my First Amendment right.
Okay.
Now, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right, so don't ask me another question. Take 3 steps back, gentlemen. I'm not your suspect. Take 3 steps back from me.
Sure, there's a crime scene
Take
tape over
3
there,
steps back
and you're
from
standing
me.
in a crime scene now.
I'm
so you
walking
need to
down the
leave.
street.
I like how this one guy's like, I'm not stepping backwards. What's wrong with you? Notice he almost says like he doesn't tell him to stand down, but he almost gets that. He acts like he's not a sovereign citizen, but he basically runs their playbook just differently.
oh yeah, no, he's
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
I
sitting
can
here
walk
going,
anywhere I
this
want.
guy's
There's not crime scene right
running,
here. The crime tape would be over
playing
here.
some
then, wouldn't it,
games.
dunce cap.
Sir,
I get you didn't graduate from high
There's
school,
crime
did you?
scene tape right there, okay?
We're just
Ooh.
asking you to
I don't
step
give a
over
rat's
there.
ass what you say. Do you understand that?
Sir,
I don't
you
care
don't have
what
to
you
make this
say. I'm not
difficult,
breaking any laws. Make it difficult. If you'd
We're-
mind your own damn business, we wouldn't be talking right now. If you hadn't opened your mouth, I wouldn't be talking to you.
I'm asking
just
what
filming
you're doing,
this.
and, you're okay to film.
I'm a member of
I'm
the
just
press.
asking
I
to
told
film
you I
over
invoke
there.
my Fifth Amendment right. You don't
have
have a
your-
right
do
to
you
ask me
have-
questions.
You have your.
I got the
film- do you have
First
your
Amendment.
press
What are the
documents?
first 5 big freedoms of the First Amendment?
Do you have your press
I'm a
documents, sir?
constitutional law scholar, you dunce cap. What is it like to
Sir,
be so stupid?
there's
I wonder
crime
what that's
scene
like.
tape right there,
What's
and
it
that's
like
where
to
you
be
need
a
to go.
moron?
You walk
What's it like to
underneath-
not know our
Sir,
rights?
you walk underneath
Correct
the crime
him.
scene tape already, sir.
Hey, correct him, sir. Correct this man. Explain to him
right,
that he
this
doesn't
is-
have a
this is
right.
your
Don't
word.
put your hands on me.
You've already walked
Are
across
you
the
gonna run
crime
over
scene
grab
tape.
me? Are you gonna run over and grab me?
Sir, you've already.
Are you gonna run over?
Sir,
I don't. I'm walking down the street,
Keep
gentlemen.
walking,
I have a
man.
right to film this.
Keep
You
walking.
understand that?
I understand.
I
I'm
have a
asking-
right to
I'm
film
asking
this.
you to
If you
film over
touch me,
there.
I will sue you. I
You're
sue
more
you
than
cops
welcome.
every
Tape
time.
already, sir.
I was walking down the street. I have a right to do so.
Okay, but
Oh,
we
man.
are telling you that you need to
Your cop
continue
told me to
walking.
walk over here. I have it on video.
Okay, and I understand that.
You're confronting me when you should be working on your
If you-
job.
if you
Why don't
stop-
you
let
shut
me-
your mouth and
let
step
me
away
talk
from
to
me?
you.
I'm just filming.
Let me talk to you, all right?
Who's the
Let me-
commanding officer?
I am.
Okay, then step back from me and leave me alone. I'll stop
No.
talking to you and I'll keep walking that
Then
way.
keep walking.
Then go that way. Get out of my face.
No, I will stand right here. You can keep walking.
You're not my boss, bro. I'm yours. You understand that? I make the rules.
I gave you a lawful
I'm
order.
your
You need
boss.
to keep walking.
I
If
am
you
walking.
do not, then you will
I'm
be
getting-
arrested
what's
for
your name-
obstruction.
what's your name and badge
I'm
number?
Sergeant Hutchinson.
Okay, what's
P
your
number
name and badge
744.
number?
Bruin 17149.
What's your name and badge number? Okay, what's your name and badge number? All right.
And
If
are
you would
being
just do
recorded
your
as well.
job,
The crime
if you would
scene
just
tape,
do
sir.
your, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I did not. I have it
You
on
walked
video.
I'm asking you to
It's
continue walking.
it's recorded.
Man, this guy's gonna catch
It's
a bullet
recorded.
one day.
I'm not going that way. I'm going
You
that
can't.
way.
You can't.
No.
That's
There's a video where he's fucking around in LA on the street, and I think he realizes some dude's about to fuck him up, and he runs away.
Who was about to
So-
fuck him up?
There's a video of him where he's out in LA walking around and somebody trolls him and shows up and he scares off this like kind of short fat guy trolling him. But then he runs into some like dude like who's like acting straight like a dude who's crazier than him, and Chili realizes like, oh, I'm gonna get fucked up. And he runs off back to his car. It's very funny. It's also really racist what he says throughout the video, but yeah,
Huh.
this yeah. Well, that's the thing. He's there's so many things about him that are yeah. But anyways, yeah, this gets better though. This gets better.
That's the thing.
What is the crime scene about?
This is a fatal car accident.
Okay, so am I in any way near the fatal car accident?
You are-
or
you
are
are
you just
on the
being a
wrong side-
dominating
no.
pig to me?
Please
there's
just
no
keep
reason.
walking.
There's no reason to
I have
try
not
to
been
detain me
disrespectful
or
to
arrest
you at
me.
all.
I've done nothing wrong.
I haven't been
I'm not.
disrespectful
There's no
to you at all.
victim. There's no crime here. You're just being a dominating pig. Leave me alone.
I have not been
all
disrespectful.
I'm doing
I've
is
given
filming.
you lawful
All
order
I
to
was
keep
doing is
walking
filming the
anyway.
bikes, man. That's all I was
And all
doing.
I asked you was what you were doing.
And it's none of your business. Do your job. You don't have to answer to you. You're not my daddy.
That's a very he likes to talk about who's not his daddy.
Well,
You're
I
not my
think that's
daddy.
probably a long list.
Yes. Well, yes. I wonder if he once, as a kid, said, "Are you my daddy?" But he says this to every cop, anybody who gives him shit. You're not my daddy. It's like, well, I'm betting he's thrilled that he's not your daddy.
Oh
So-
shit! Like just
Oh yeah.
No, I have the officer over there on video told me to walk this way. Go ahead and arrest me and find out how quick I sue your ass.
Sir,
Just do it.
Okay.
Okay, I have to
Go
walk
to-
the other
go to
way,
the crime
so
scene
I'm going to
tape,
be
sir.
walking over here.
go to the crime scene tape, sir.
Don't tell
go
me
that
what
way.
to do.
Please go that way.
Don't tell me what to do.
Then let's just
You're
start
not my
walking.
boss.
I'm giving you a lawful order. Let's start walking now. Let's go. We're going this way.
Are you going to put your hands on me now? Leave me the
You
fuck
don't- let's go.
alone.
Listen, sir, we're
This
going.
way.
Well, don't touch me, dude.
I'm just
Dude,
I'm
standing here.
escorting you
I'm
to
just
where you
stand-
need to go.
Are you guys going to surround me? Leave me alone.
I'm escorting you to where
There's
you
no
need
reason to
go.
do this. I'm not trying to fight anybody.
I'm not
There's no
saying you're trying
victim
to
here.
fight.
There's no crime. You're just trying to dominate another
Let's do
person.
the- go to
Just
the crime
leave
scene
me
tape, sir.
alone. Okay, I can leave, but you don't have to walk
Okay,
up on
then
me.
let's go. You
sir.
haven't
So
left
what's
yet.
the emergency? Is there an
Because
emergency?
we-
Somebody's
we are trying
dead,
to-
sir. Is that
Okay,
enough emergency
but
for
where
you?
are they at?
Let's go.
Where are they at? Where are they at? Are they right here?
Let's go, sir.
Am I
Let's
causing
go to
any
your business,
problems
sir.
here?
Let's go.
The only thing you're
Come
doing
on.
is losing
Let's go,
your
sir.
cool, acting like an
Sir,
idiot.
the crime scene tape is
You're
right here.
acting like
Let's
a
go.
dunce cat.
Let's go, sir.
You're on
The crime
camera
scene tape
acting
is right
like a
here, sir. Let's
moron,
go.
bro.
Come on, sir.
Wow.
No, look at this. I got 1, 2,
No, we're
3, 4
escorting
cops.
you.
For
Are we-
what?
are we-
What good's it
area?
doing? What good's it doing?
Just go on the
You
other
don't
side
need
of
to
the
escort me.
crosswalk.
Go back to where you're
Because you
going.
haven't left
I'm
yet.
walking. I'm walking right now.
Then let's
Oh,
go.
now you're threatening me with violence. Now this guy's threatening me with violence.
Come on, let's
Let's
walk.
go, sir.
Now they're pushing me. Look at their hands all over me. Look at that. Look at that.
You're right.
All,
We're escorting you, sir.
don't fucking touch me, boys.
Let's go.
Don't.
Let's go.
What are you?
There you go.
oh man.
That's Chili in a nutshell.
How did he? How is he surprised that this is not going well for him?
Because he thinks that the police are crooked, the courts are crooked, everybody's out to get him. Nobody understands him or appreciates his mental. You know, he's. Yeah,
Well, I
he's
mean, I
so-
can see why he would think everyone's out to get him because he works his best to make that happen.
Yes. Well, that's how he is. Yeah, he's Yeah.
What a winner!
Yep. Oh yeah. No, he's you'll love it when he, like I said, listen to it really well, and I'll send you the link to the thing real quick here because it's so good. But you have to listen very carefully because the beginning audio really sucks, but you need to listen. It's also only an hour and a half long, which is nice. Oh wow, they actually improved the audio and the video quality. So,
Nice.
Yeah, imagine you die in Chili's on the scene. Yes, that would be horrible.
I'd probably, rise from the dead just to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just he's really bad, and yeah, he actually hold on here. I wonder if I could find the one where he gets punked, because it's. Let me see if I can find it because it's really funny. He runs away from people. Yeah, let me see if this is it here. No.
So what he's saying, did he apply to be a
So,
cop and get
yeah,
rejected?
never mind.
That'd fit.
Okay, this works. So this is him in L.A. He's been fucking with some people. People have fucked him back, and now he's like fucking with a random drunk guy. And this drunk guy does a move that, if you're paying attention to, he clearly. Oh, MG Law, how you doing? Good to see you here. You could tell this guy does something, and his demeanor changes immediately. Chili's demeanor. So it's gonna be a little loud, guys. So you might want to turn down your volume just a hair. So Chili's now fucking with this random guy on the street. So here we go.
Live, bro. Go ahead.
Where's the phone at?
You're live.
Where's the phone at?
You're live.
We live, homie, every
You're
time.
live.
I got it. I got it.
You got it, homie. No, you're live, bro.
Hey, bring it up. Hey, homie. Hey.
You're live, bro. And just so you know, man, listen. You know.
That easy, homie.
Yeah.
So you notice what that guy did? He kind of pulled his shirt up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that happens, and Chili's talking shit. Now listen to him.
Just so you know, man, listen. You know.
That easy, homie.
Yeah. I wish somebody would. I wish you would. I don't want to fight anybody. I want to go home.
You see that? I wish somebody would, but I don't want to fight. I want to go home. His eyes are like, well, and then.
Listen, God bless you. I'm out.
God bless you, fucking ass.
1 second. I got to go dark.
You hear him beating feet.
Over.
That's going to be it for me today.
So that's Chili running off. And that guy definitely pulled up his shirt. Whatever Chili saw, I wish somebody would. But I gotta go. But I gotta go. And then a couple seconds later, he's like, yeah, I gotta run. So
Yeah, no.
that's Chili. Like he almost got fucked up by somebody, but he fucked around and he found out.
Well, he almost found out.
Well, he found out enough. The way his reaction, though, you could see that in his face, and you don't have to know him well to know. Like he's like, well, yeah.
That's time to just go, okay, man, I'm out. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, that's a funny thing, because Chili normally, like, if you were to critique him or Chili, be like, well, you know what? Let's one-on-one. We'll have a wrestling match in the woods, because he's supposedly like a really good wrestler, and he wants to wrestle men alone in the woods for some reason. I don't know. He also has this issue of part of the reason why he doesn't want to go to jail is he thinks jails are rape dungeons, and that when you go there, the police look up your butt. Now, like, yes, that's how they used to have to do it.
that is accurate.
Well, most places, well, at least in America, a lot of places have the, body scanners, so you don't have to do that now. But the way he talks about looking up buttholes is very hilarious because it turns into basically like a parody of itself. As I pointed out when I did the first time I talked about Chili, I did a video about him, and it's the way he kept on hammering and phrasing stuff. He sets himself up for failure. That he's just a absolute schmo of a human being here, and it
sounds like he's got some concerns that
yeah,
maybe are not justified.
Well, it's here. This is from my video I did on him, and it's just. Yeah, no, I agree. Yes, we should probably have decarceral. Like, I believe in the decarceral state. I believe in a lot of things. Like, yes, Chili and I, there's a lot of things I agree on, but the insanity that accompanies everything he does, that's the problem with Chili. But yeah, here's Chili's one of his things he likes talking about. Showcases his obsession with buttholes and homoeroticism.
I don't want him to have to show his butthole to a stranger. So maybe looking at people's butts not working? Maybe looking at people's butts isn't improving in life for anybody? Because I'm not going to let anybody look up my ass. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. Listen, hey, just so you know, I would be on top.
You'll be on top?
Yeah, you want to call me sweetie?
Yeah, sweetie.
I would hold you down and fuck you right in the ass.
He wants to fuck me in the ass.
I'm not bending over and showing some strange man my butthole. That's not going to happen. I'll never do it.
And his So that's
Wow.
yes. So he likes, and but he says a strange man. He means at the police. He's not doing that, but like for the police. Yeah.
Oh, you the one calls me telling me some cops are good? Is that you? No, they're not. They signed up to be Nazis, dude. Is that why we got the notification today that they were going to try to set me up? Only problem is, you dirty pigs, I don't break the law. I'm for the law. Go fuck yourself. I can say anything I want.
I'm just asking you.
Go fuck yourself and go fuck yourself and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you.
So yes, that's Chili.
Huh. What a charming individual.
Yes. So you're gonna love the trial.
Huh. Now, MG Law is saying that he got that he doesn't think it was a fair trial.
I think there was some issues with the trial. Like when you watch it, I think I don't want to spoil it for you, but I think there were some issues about when the cop talks about him telling him to go back and stay away. I think there might have been some factual issues. I don't think his attorney did a good job about it, protecting some of these issues. Like that was one of the big things, but Chili.
Oh, hey, he actually hired an attorney. I thought that surprised me.
Well, that's the funny thing. I am really surprised because normally Chili talks shit about attorneys all the time, and I think it's funny he chumped out and got one. And he didn't do it himself, but he claims he's going to represent himself going forward because that case where I showed you the motorcycles, that's a pending arrest, that's pending trial now. So this the one he had the trial on was a different one, but I'll let you watch it because I have he got arrested last March, and he got arrested. It was a Thursday, so I watched the video live because he was streaming it, and I watched it. And I think there were some things that I made the argument then that he probably could argue, and I think based on what happened, certainly the way he reacts didn't help the situation, but I think that what the officer wanted from him probably wasn't legal. But once you start spazzing out like that, it kind of all goes out the window. So,
yeah, that can be a problem where it's like,
yeah. So,
well,
I'll leave you to it, Ruckle. It's not a bad thing to watch. It's yeah, but overall, I mean, what he did in court, like I said, when it starts up, notice how he handles himself. He's the architect of his own demise, as it mainly is with these guys. And then Sleazy says,
they almost always are.
Do you think we could send his cellmate a Baldo? No, you can't, sadly. I was looking it up though. We could send him a commissary. It's really expensive commissary out in Las Vegas.
Huh.
And then Peacenik says,
can you send specific things?
Yeah, you can send food packets, like you said, care packages. So it's a bunch of things at once. So it's a bunch of chips or ramen or soups, or they actually they get Folgers coffee at the Clark County Jail, the good coffee, surprisingly.
Can you pick which things to send him?
No, it's generally packages only, I think. You can also send him some shampoo and soap.
Just send him nothing but shampoo.
It's like 20. Just send shampoo every week, just a box of it. I didn't know the armed attorneys did live streams together. Hey, y'all. Thanks, Peacenik.
Oh,
fair enough.
I don't know. If they've heard of me, they probably don't like me. The armed attorneys.
Yeah, I heard they're they used to be ex-prosecutors, and they came out and they switched over to doing this stuff, and I'm like, well,
I did a video mocking one of their videos.
Oh, what did they do? Was it bad?
They were saying that you shouldn't, if you carry a gun, you shouldn't also carry medical supplies.
For yourself, sure.
They're if you end up having to use the gun, then, they're going to they're going to hold that you had medical supplies against you. I'm like, yeah, but you might end up not having a murder bit. And also, if you're trying to say, hey, I was just doing this in self-defense, and then I applied medical attention to this guy, is a great way to,
Sure.
to back that up. But
I don't think that's a bad idea, but I have counterpoint: hepatitis C.
But the other thing is, like, the guy who attacks might shoot your wife first.
Yeah,
And
well, that's
so
the thing.
medical
You
supplies
might
might
get
be for
shot.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, as far as patching other people up, I'd be a little reluctant because, like, if somebody's attacking me, I'm assuming they're like probably down on their luck and they might do drugs. So it's like, I'm not really sure I want to find out if he's got HIV.
But at the end of the day, what you really, you don't want to be sitting there as your spouse bleeds out or something because you got
I agree.
nothing.
I agree. Well,
So I was like,
that's
this is crap advice.
yeah. Well, the other thing is too, and I said this: everything you do is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, did you offer first aid? No, I didn't have anything, so you weren't really prepared. They'll be like, look, officer so and so, detective so and so, they always have first aid on them. They'll go down that road. What do the police do when they hurt somebody? They care for them. What did this guy do? He shot him and let him bleed out and die. Or if you go the other way, they'll hold that against you. Or if you have, like, let's say your piece has you have a light on it. You know who has a light and a sight on their guns? The SWAT team does. This guy thought he was in the SWAT team. He thought he was a commando and Army Ranger. Okay, let's say you don't have that on your gun and it's night out and you shoot. You know what? Guess what he didn't have, ladies and gentlemen? A flashlight on his gun. We heard from Detective so-and-so. He's got a flashlight on his gun. Why? So he makes sure he knows what he's aiming at and he's being safe and hitting the right targets. Like, I can go a million different ways with these things. Whatever it is
and
you
just
do,
look
do
at
it.
ammo choices.
Yeah.
Did you use hollow point? Oh, well, it was designed to be extra lethal.
Yeah.
Did you use did you use round nose? Well, this is like ball ammunition. This is what the military uses.
Mm-hmm.
He's using military ammunition. It's like,
Yes.
no matter what you pick, they're gonna,
Yes.
You could be shooting clown noses out of your gun and they will literally be like, well, that's unusual.
Well, aren't you? Well, he'll be like, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're afraid of clowns. You know who else was a clown? Pennywise. And you also was a clown? Click on the screen. Dun dun dun. John Wayne Gacy. He was a clown. So,
clearly he thinks this is funny.
Yes. And the thing is, like, ultimately with Chili, like, I think he got a bit of a bum rap, but it's nothing that's going to get overturned. So.
Well, I'd feel bad if he was a better
It's not
human.
wrong. He's not wrongfully convicted. Like, I think if he wasn't an asshole and he had a better attorney, better arguments could have been made. He might have had a chance, but he acts like a dickhead even in court. So
and that's the problem is that if your client is a dickhead, sometimes it's hard to do much for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, right. Yeah, the judge convicted you because they hate you. Then the jury convicted you because they hate you.
Well, he did a bench trial, so it was even.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it made it even worse. Ed, you have to listen to it at the beginning and listen to him at the end, and it's just.
Well, I mean, I think the bench trial probably did him some favors. I wouldn't want to run that guy in front of a jury.
Yeah, but I don't know. He may have been able to razzle dazzle somebody on there because he's got a couple 100,000 viewers. So.
Yeah, but how many of those viewers are just watching to see, like, because they want to be on when?
Well, he rakes in a decent amount of cash doing this stuff. So.
Well, put it into commissary because.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Any idea what he's looking at for time?
180 days.
That's not too bad.
Part. Well, for somebody like him, it is because he. I think he's got. Well, you can tell he's got massive authority issues. For him being told for 180 days straight, like, stand up, go this way, like, the cops are going to tell him what to do, and he's going to buck, and eventually he's going to do something, and one of those cops are going to, like, one of the CEOs will be like, you got something to say? And for somebody like Chili, I don't think he can keep his mouth shut that long. And I also have the worry for him. he's gonna get into that pod, and eventually,
Oh,
you know,
he's gonna go up to some old guy who doesn't look like he's much,
Mhm.
and he's gonna say some shit. And
I just think in general he won't. He'll think he can like jujitsu, black belt jujitsu his way out of a fight, and when it turns out it's like three homeboys, just whooping on him. Like there's no playing around. Like I sadly think maybe he's smart enough and controlled enough, but if he's that smart and controlled, he wouldn't do what he does out in real life. Because the moment he tries any of this crap he did with the cops, somebody's beating him into a coma.
oh, I mean, or just quietly taking an ice pick and stirring up his organs.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the person you're gonna kill for. It's got to be pretty good. And I don't want to spoil it too much for you. Like I want you to
mean-
watch a trial, but I know I know he gets convicted. So
The thing is that if he says the wrong thing to somebody,
yeah.
they'll kill him just for saying it.
Oh, and the very true, very true. I mean, he's got
So-
he's got a lot to mind himself for, and I don't know if he can do it. I really don't know, and that's the thing. Like, I'm actually kind of worried he's gonna get fucked up in there. It's like, also then we don't have more content. So I mean, I'm thinking about multiple fronts here. I'm the consummate showman.
I mean, you gotta worry about that because who knows what he'll be up to.
He says they'll probably put him PC because they'll see he put himself in danger. Yeah, but the only other thing is I could see Chili. Chili's a chicken, like that guy. I think he knows when he's in danger, so I think he'll ask to get locked up. He'll ask to get segregated. Um,
The thing is they might not just because he's such an ass.
well, yeah, but they've got some duties to protect at that point. If somebody says, I wanna take it, I wanna pack it up and get put in protective custody. They're kind of they generally don't screw with that one too much because now I can see Chili being told screw yourself and deal with it, but I don't necessarily want that to happen to him.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, he's one of those people, though. He's kind of the architect of his own.
Oh, entirely he is. Entirely he is, and he's just yeah. He also sued. He sued a couple of YouTubers, and trying to bankrupt them and harass them, and this
For what?
being in jail is going to screw it up. So screw all that up. So good luck, Chili.
Yeah, that'll be funny when he's showing up for his lawsuit. It's like, so you're in custody.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
but
showing up from cells really tends to f with your.
Well, his he's in Las Vegas, but his lawsuits. Well, his one lawsuit is in California, so that one's going to probably fall apart. But yeah, he's suing the Las Vegas police for for multiple things now at this point. He sued them for like $5 million apiece. So
Well, I guess good for him.
yeah, so all right.
I don't
Ron,
think
let's
that's going to go very far.
No, it won't. And the one thing is, it'll kill his channel for being gone for this long.
Oh yeah, he'll have all the
Algorithms pass him by.
yeah.
So
Well, the other thing is that YouTube sometimes will just knock somebody out entirely if they think that you're committing crimes on a.
well, yeah, but not crimes like this. Like they think you're committing real crimes. Like,
Well, they've taken out prank channels when the people get arrested.
well, yeah, but those guys deserve it.
Yeah, I'm just,
Oh, it's a prank. Bop. Like, there you go. Like, I still love that. I still love that guy getting shot in Virginia.
oh,
So-
that one I just love to bits.
Yeah.
I want to talk to one of the jurors on that one.
Yeah.
I've got somebody who's got a line on them, but I got to
Oh, you
get them
do?
to actually.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I got to actually get them off their butt so I can. Yeah.
Nice. Well, like, there's this one time I saw this one prank where like this lady's sitting there and she looks like she's holding a baby, and she's obviously in on it. And a guy comes, runs, and grabs it and jumps into a car, and they did it in California, and I'm like, thank God they did it there, because most other places, somebody's gonna be shooting that windshield apart. Like, if you're walking down the street and you saw it happening, like, guess what you get to do? Right through the window. And or the other one I saw, I don't know if you have this show up there. It's called, like, What Would You Do? They put people in, like, these really awkward situations where they want you to act, and when you don't act, they, like, film you and ask you why you didn't do anything.
Mm.
So, like,
I saw one of those that was pretty entertaining, which was they asked the guy, like, why didn't you do anything? He's like, because I saw that shithead with a camera. And I was like,
okay.
oh.
Well, so, like, there's this one, and it shows, like, this girl. She's like, get away from me, help, help. It's like, and the guy's trying to drag her away. And and they do it in New York. It's like outside of New York City. And these two dudes, it's like a white guy trying to drag this little girl off, and these two black kids, they must have been like just like like out of high school or something. They're young. They walk up to this dude and they're about ready to fucking beat the shit out of him. Cause the little girl's like, help, help, and it's all an act. But these dudes grab him, and the guy's like, whoa, whoa, it's TV, guys, TV, and like. Even as people come out rushing to like show it's not real, these guys are about ready to start beating the fuck out of him until a cop shows up and it's like, no, 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 guys, stop. And I'm like, I kind of wish the guy got his ass beat just for the sake of it, but like, yeah, you do that in a lot of places. It's like, get on the ground and no, this is TV. I'm like, you're right. I'm gonna kill you, and it's gonna get on TV. Get on the ground. And like,
you remember the clown pranks?
Yeah. Well, but I was just thinking about that, like where the whole news crew comes out, and like you've got a guy on the ground and you pointed a gun at him, like, stay down, and these people start swarming you out of nowhere. It's like, they start yelling at you too. Like, if they had done that in a place where somebody could feel scary, like some of them are getting shot in the process, maybe.
The one I remember watching, it was for a while there was this thing where they'd have like somebody dressed up as a clown who chases somebody with like a fake weapon.
Oh yeah, those, yes.
And so they had it set up where they had like a body there to look like a homeless person.
Yes.
And so they had this clown like smash the head of this, which was they'd put out a watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's approaching people and they run off scared and whatever. And they approach this one guy, this like black guy there, and he just like gun out, and he's like, stay back. And they're like, what? And he's like, no, you stay back. And they're like, it's a prank, dude. And he's like, cool, prank, get back. And they're like, no, it's a prank. And he's like, get back. And so they have the guy come up and he's like, I got a camera. And he's like, you over with them. Like, and he's like, no, it's a prank. He's like, don't care. And if it was like, if that guy was part of the bit, he was really good at it. And he's just like, I don't care. I'm going to shoot somebody if you guys decide to get too close to me. That one I can't find anymore. Okay. It got taken down off YouTube. I haven't been able to find another copy of it, but it's just
well, there's a guy now who's he hired like a bodyguard, so he like bumps into people and causes confrontations. And then the bodyguard gets involved, and I'm like, that is you are asking for fucking problems with that man.
Oh, somebody's gonna smoke him.
Well, he did get smoked because at one point he fucks with the guy, and then like two people get fucked with, and the bodyguard can only handle one person at a time, and somebody just comes out of nowhere and just blasts them, and Jack Doherty. Yeah. That's
the thing they're gonna have a problem with is like some guy who's like me, 100 and something pounds. You'll get some like little tiny guy. And this giant bodyguard will come up in the guy's face, and it'll just be pop, pop.
Yeah, I felt scared.
And that's it.
I got attacked. Like, this guy shoved me, and then some big black guy's like trying to manhandle me, and like I don't know what's going on. I felt in fear.
This big black guy started grabbing me, and I just pop, pop. And
then he turns around and sues Jack Doherty for a lot of money. Like, you hired me to do this.
Well, or his next of kin does.
Well, his next of kin does. Yeah.
I mean, I personally think YouTube, like, I'm not a big fan of saying, hey, we should take down content, but they should probably take down stuff like those guys whose job, like, who actually are attacking people.
Hmm.
Like those kinds of pranks. It's just like, no, take this shit down.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think it's one of those deals where like a couple people like he takes a punch to the face and falls down and cracks his head on the sidewalk and dies. Like, problem solved. The ultimate unsubscribe.
I mean, the thing
Somebody gets
is,
unsubscribed from life. That's what'll happen.
it's just like the problem is that the guy who could get killed could be somebody who, like, that this bodyguard comes up to, because there was a party where that bodyguard went after somebody
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and smoked the guy.
Yeah.
I know that Doherty's getting sued over that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and he could be charged like you guys were in a conspiracy. You had this guy around all the time. You're kind of liable for him. You brought him along to be muscle, and guess what? Your muscle did. He went and did some muscle stuff.
well, and the other thing is, if they start getting some of their like texts and so forth between them,
Yeah.
because I bet that there's some discussion over like, when this guy can go to town, and wouldn't it be great content if you schooled somebody?
Yeah.
At that point you start getting into some fun legal liability.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right. Well, it is 3 o'clock here, so I know it's like 1 o'clock where you are.
It is indeed 1 o'clock where I am. Holy crap.
Yeah. So, yeah, I gotta be up in the morning. So I'm gonna call it for here, guys. So long as the story short, Hannah Reid is not getting out of jail. Hannah Reid's not getting a new trial. Jason Bowles is still an idiot. So nothing's changed. Nothing has changed.
Good night, everyone.
Yep. So take care, everybody. Good night. And Runkle the Bailey, do you have anything else coming up or not till Monday?
I'm still feeling like crap because of
Okay.
the coof, but I've got another. You remember that idiot expert from the Hannah's trial?
Yes.
Um,
Tell me you're gonna interview him.
oh God, no! I don't think
How much
he's
of a
likely
FUD
to.
are you?
Sir, were you there when they invented the mini ball?
Yes.
I am going to do another video mocking him because I found some more stuff to mock him over.
Oh.
And yeah.
Oh, he's got other videos that are out there.
He's got other stuff that's out there. I'm going to be digging through some of the court filings.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how could you have known that this guy's an idiot? Oh, there were signs.
Oh, yeah. And reformed convict, been a member for 4 months, says, Chili, oh, yeah, you're one of Joe's diggers, it looks like. Chili has done some time for selling DMT he made. Well, I thought it was GHB, not DMT, but yeah, he's definitely got a lot of drug issues.
That guy really, his personality seems so level. But
oh yeah, and for a while he was smoking weed all the time on YouTube, like live, and nothing ever happened to him.
I mean, I can because, I mean, I don't, but I could because it's legal where I am. But
oh really? Okay. I thought.
Yeah, YouTube's rules basically say you can't. You can't consume drugs to dangerousness or if it's illegal in your area. So, that said, I don't just because, yeah.
Huh.
I don't. I also don't do the heavy drinking streams just because.
Yeah.
I'd die.
Yes. And guys, so yeah, tomorrow night, Thursday night, 9:30, I'm doing the live show as always. If you guys are new to me and you came over with MG, do it Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern time. The only time zone that matters. Sorry, Ruggle. It's the only time zone that matters. And then Friday night at 11 p.m., I'm going to be having Jeff on. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be relaxed, but we're also talking about, like doing the maritime stuff and like pirates and all the stuff he deals with on a daily basis. That doesn't involve idiots like me. So,
like gold fringe flags?
Yes. Yeah, that kind of admiralty. Yes. So, that is on Friday night, guys. So I will see you later. And until next time, have a good night. See you guys.